Hello, everybody, and welcome. August 22nd of 2019. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, and this is usually I do a level 1 and a level 2 presentation, 1 hour for each one. The topic today for level 1 is both pineal gland and your inner eye or inner projection apparatus. It's part of the higher faculties. It's a huge, crucial understanding to be able to relate to this aspect of your body. And I think it's important enough for me to focus our entire 2-hour-long, class time on this. So I'm just going to do, sorry, dog hair. We're just going to do a big 2-hour-long presentation because I know that it would squash over time anyway, all about the area of your anatomy that is right here, what it is, how it relates to reality projection, how it relates to the where's my little sculpture, how it relates to these shapes and forms that I'm always showing you, and how it relates to the burnt cookies of reality and the hijacking of reality. But before I get into that, because there's, level 2 stuff is good for this week, but I think I want to focus on level 1. Before I get into that, I was just joking with the class behind the scenes before I started formally in the recording. I have to formally apologize to everyone of how badly I screwed up sending out the homework assignment last week. Let's just erase it away, erase that away. And we will start from the beginning because I know that I did not choose the right picture. And then Eleanor asked for clarification in class. She's like, wait, is that dark blue or light blue? I said, oh, that's dark blue, that's dark blue. No, I was totally wrong. And then I sent out a clarification email later the next day with an image attached that was supposed to be the correct image. Totally didn't come through in the attachment. And so I just said, I can't even blame some kind of Mercury retrograde or astronomical alignment that has gone horribly awry. I take full responsibility. So we're just going to start again. What is the homework for everyone who's participating in the drawing homework? Let me go to the screen share. It is to draw. Oh, this go away. There we go. Hold on. So I know that this image actually has one extra, let me make sure you can see my face too. There's one extra thing on there. Oh, you know what? And hold on, I'm just gonna move a little chair because you know who is here and wants to jump up. She can't jump all the way on my lap from down there. Okay, the boss is here. So I don't mean to confuse you because this picture has actually one extra circle. You don't have to pay attention to the green circle right now unless you want to. Your homework is to make an image similar to this, showing a cross-section of the red chakra, and then nested within this area over here that looks kind of like a V from these, upper arms that are sticking up. It is supposed to be the light blue. So if we have Roy G. Biv, blue, indigo, violet, it's blue, not indigo. So in my system here, if I'm working with the first unit of red, which is, the largest unit as being 12 inches, 12 centimeters, whatever, this circle size is 2.4 inches. And let me grab my little thing. I'll show you all the tools. Oh, also, let me mute everyone, just so that the recording doesn't happen with, sorry, feedback in the background. Hold on one second. Darn it. Okay, I just got to mute. How can I do this properly? Technological stuff. It's done. Back to screen share. The way that all of these guys fit together. Let's do a quick annotation here. So if you can look at this area that I'm circling right here and right here, basically once you start off with the red, that's your foundation of your pyramid or the foundation of your house that you're building this on. And then you can figure out, okay, if I know that red fits there, and then I know that one of these 2.4 inch or light blue circles fits inside of there. And so that gives us a midpoint over here, this little crossing point over here. Then if we look at, I'm having trouble even figuring out vocabulary words. This is like an upside down smile, like this semicircle over here. Look at where it intersects over here. We haven't actually drawn that green yet, but that's where you start to see, oh, we know that's going to be resting upon this lower smile or this lower semicircle of what will eventually be the green. So it's kind of like a Sudoku or a logic puzzle, the way that I'm teaching you this. You start off with red, okay, we know that's the baseline. Then from there, we know that we can add in this circle because it fits perfectly within this little V. And then from there, we know we can add green. So I'll teach you how to build it in the same way that I've been teaching you to build the dimensions. Now wait, let me go to this picture here. because that is how I created this image. And I'll make it even a little bit bigger so that you can see a little bit easier on your screen. Make it bigger. And I know Gala and some other people have been trying to kind of like look at this and decipher it. I want you to do it and do it in your own pace, but also rest assured I will explicitly describe everything here. But you can see, so there's a couple of things. Red and orange always share the same midpoint. Where I'm making this circle here, that's the crossing point, oh, you can't even see what I'm drawing. God, it's so hard sometimes. The thing like this at the center of each chakra shape. The singularity, the 0th dimension. Red and orange overlap that circle that I just made there. And indigo and violet overlap here. We're going to talk a whole lot about indigo and violet as the level 1 presentation today. So what my intention was to show you, like, first start off with red and then do this indigo over here, and then I'll teach the ones all in between. I think I have to change my direction. So fixing the horrible mistake of last week's homework, rectifying all of it, try again. That was a rough charcoal sketch. Scratch it out, didn't work that well. Try again. So the homework for this week is a sketch that looks like this, but you don't have to put the green circles in yet unless you want to. And I love overachievers who want to and who want to go further. And this is the goal of what we are working up to. And you can see all the different places I will circle where, like, so we start off with red and orange come together because they have that common midpoint. Look at where the wheel, like the bottom tire of yellow, sits upon the lower smile of orange. Oh my goodness, Cheeky, don't be too loud. We're on camera. Okay, thank you. And this one over here, the lower tire of green, sits upon the lower smile, the edge like this of yellow. So we begin to build it all up. So again, don't have to go too far into the future in showing you that. Good. Do not too far into the future. Can you reassure? What's going on? Something underneath the couch is barking. Why is that barking? Hold on a second. So the topic for today is all about your pineal gland, physical structure in your body, but also your inner eye, which is a major part of your higher faculties. So I'm defining your higher faculties, to go back to that share screen, as these structures or chakras or energy centers that rest upon the level of your heart. So your heart creates this whirling and swirling energy field that is like a foundation, like a stable foundation. And then these other apparatuses rest upon that energy field. Let's go bigger. Can I make it bigger? It worked a minute ago. I can't go any larger. Okay, so let's get a good color. So you can even see if this is the level of the heart where I'm making this big, giant, fat green line. That's not the only place where the green energy field extends. I mean, actually, there's an enormous energy field that extends outward from your heart. But in terms of, because here. Well, just look at this level down here where I'm making another big scratchy green there, you can see. That's like the lower level of the vortex that faces downward. That goes all the way down to your belly button. And then you also have this part up here. Look at that, like the upper lip of that vortex shape that's pointing upward like a tulip or a petunia or whatever. And that is circling right around your head. So it's not just like, this is like a focus point on your body, but that's not the only aspect of your physical anatomy that is intimately engaged with this level of reality or energy field. So you can also see how the energy field makes kind of like a donut shape or a trough, making this kind of smiley face here. And that is a resting place, like a bowl, within which all of these other higher faculties rest. So that tone, the love tone, this ability to move through time unimpeded, not being dragged down by the past, not grasping at the future, that is a critical skill, a critical prerequisite for being able to access the higher faculties. Because this is what we're talking about here. We go back to me. Because some people might think of it or consider it like worthiness. Let me just drink a little something too. Aurora, am I worthy of accessing these higher faculties? Because this, what I'm talking about here, this inner eye, this pineal gland, it is associated with Christ consciousness in the Christian culture, Krishna consciousness in the Eastern Hindu culture. I know I'm culturally whatever, I'm ethnocentric, forgive me please. And I do everything in inches, forgive me please. This is considered to be a really like special people. And, in some levels of society, having a mark on your head here is like, you are the special person, like that is a good thing. But I'm trying to say these are basic aspects of our anatomy, in the same way that we can say, hey, this is my physical eye, this is my physical nose, this is my physical mouth. You have a physical and a non-physical aspect of anatomy, and it's not just for special people. It's not just for special holy people or something like that. It is really something that is part of each one of us, a potential inside of each one of us that is intimately connected with our experience of reality. It's the idea that we are supposed to have, like, this is my little paintbrush, a paintbrush that emerges from, you can call it your mind, but we're not talking about the yellow level. I've done a lot of teachings about that, the yellow level and the way that it's been hacked, the human operating system, and how it does not work effectively anymore. We're talking about your true mind. Your true mind is a nonverbal, direct expression of divinity. And there's an apparatus through which that divinity on a larger scale percolates through each one of us on an individual level and is then expressed in the physical world. That we are very honorable mechanisms of expression for all of the unformed stuff to come out and be formed. It's wonderful. It's like you're a musician that reads little black dots on a page and actually waves your fingers and turns it into beautiful music. Like, that is an honorable position. So I'm trying to tell everybody in the class, like, I want you to self-elevate a little bit. Consider that you are a good special person. You are worthy of being here. And just by being here, you are supposed to be able to be painting reality with your perception. That is what this aspect of our anatomy does. So it's a very false dichotomy or a not true teaching to be saying we're going to divide society up into two levels. The people that have it going on up here and the people who ain't got it going on up here. Like, these will be the special people and they will have everything. And the people that got nothing, like, they're going to be the nothing people. Like, no, everybody is supposed to have it going on up here. This is big because this also speaks to the idea of, let's say there's only a small segment of humanity that has their higher faculties awakened, and you go to them and they're like your soothsayer. They're like your oracle. You pay them good money in order for them to tell you, like, hey, should I buy low? Should I sell high? Should I leave this country? Like, that's been going on for a really long time. And some people sell their access up here for like $5. They're like, $5, card readings online. But I don't think that any of that, $5 or 5 million bucks, I don't think that any of that is a proper use of this, which is a sacred and divine body part, just in the same way that your sexual organs are sacred and divine body parts that are made for, your connection to life force energy, your expression, your procreation. It's not actually something that's made to be commodified. This is big. This part of your body, technically, is not made to be commodified. Commodified means you sell access to it, or you do it on command, or you do it how they like it, like a commission. So, like, I'm an artist. I do things on commission. Like, if someone said, make me a necklace, but, add in some extra turquoise, like jazz it up, extra amethyst, I'd be like, okay, like, I do it for you. And like, give me an extra $5. Like, that's working on commission. That's honorable. That's good. That's like, whatever, planting someone's lawn or any kind of thing like that. These are honorable things to do. But having access to your sensitive organs and your divine organs, that's not something that you're supposed to sell for $1 or $1 million. We know that on like a basic level now. So when you understand that, because what is the actual purpose? Let's go back to this image. What is the actual purpose? Or let's go to a different image. Jazz it up a little. Where's this one? What is the actual purpose of, here, wait, make the homework go away here, this. What is this supposed to do? This area that I've just zoomed in on. So first of all, there's two chakras or energy centers, these shapes like this, one in violet, one in blue. And the violet one is the smallest circle within the octave or, segmented level of reality that we would define as human. It's not quite white light, but it's getting all the way there. So if we were like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, We're almost all the way back to unity consciousness. So it's the highest level of what we would define as being human within the realm of what we've defined as human for many, many millions of years. Although we can, broach that envelope. We can expand that envelope at any time. That's what this class is all about. But right now we're just exploring the way things have been up until this point. So a major part of this anatomical structure, it's the intersection of these two aspects of self. I have to choose like here's a bright white. This area that I'm circling right here, that's a really crucial place within your body. So first of all, let's say this is your actual spinal column made out of physical bones, bony bones. This is kind of like this little top of your neck. There's like a little pointy bone at the top of your neck. And your skull kind of like pivots on top of it. Oh, let's draw some anatomy. Here, look, here's a skull, here's an eyeball in there, here's your little nose, and here's some teeth in here. Oh, I'm doing good. And here's some more teeth in here. It's a scary person inside. And then here's jawbone, okay? Right? This structure is right in the center of your skull. And it's where your indigo chakra and your violet chakra meet and coincide. And there are also very critical neurological structures in that point. So one of them is there's lots of stuff in the area right between the hemispheres of your brain. Let's draw your brain. We're drawing a cross section of your brain now, as if we have made a meatloaf, and you will never look at meatloaf again the same way. And now we have like cut it down the middle, and we're looking at the interior of the meatloaf. It's a pretty good meatloaf. This is a cross section of your brain. You're like, oh, that doesn't look like a brain. Yes. This is your left hemisphere over here, and this is your right hemisphere over here, and here's your cerebellum over here. And then, of course, well, wait, let me erase my little marks. And then there would be like a big, fat spinal cord going down endlessly down there. Okay, so in this area that I'm now scribbling in white, the area between the hemispheres of your brain, there are all sorts of really interesting neurological structures. One of them is a bridge between the right and left hemispheres that sends messages across from one to the other. There is also many glands that are aspects of the limbic system. And the limbic system has to do with stuff that you feel, not stuff that you think. The stuff that you think, let me change to a different color, is all happens where I'm scribbling in red. Your thoughts, your verbalized conscious, using yellow, verbalized conscious thoughts are happening on the surface of the meatloaf, where you put the ketchup or where you roll it in the dough, not the deep interior. This stuff that's happening all in here is all deep feeling stuff. And it's a different level of cognition and perception. And in there, so you've got all sorts of different, you got pituitary gland, you got all sorts of different glands. One of the glands that you have in there is your pineal gland. Oh my goodness, all of that in order to tell you about your pineal gland. So now let me rewind on this. And let me get a different color. Let's see, and if you'll be able to see this here. But your pineal gland is situated in here. I'm making like a big giant blue dot. You can't really see it that well on your screen. Let's choose a white dot instead. Right in there, pineal gland is an interior gland that is like an eyeless eye. So if I draw the little diagram over here, it is shaped something like that. Simplified, of course, with my digital pen. It has a little branching nerve structure that comes off the end. It's kind of like a tadpole. So ordinarily your eyeball would have a lens over here, and photons can enter into the lens and then stimulate the retina on the back of the eyeball. But this eyeball has no lens, but it does have a retina. How interesting. It's almost like, it's a totally sealed up room that has a movie screen in the middle of it. Like, what are you gonna get pictures on your screen? There's no light coming into this room. The light comes into the room non-locally. It comes in through thought. So now imagine this is yellow thought and energy that is coming and stimulating that retina, not with physical light, not with physical photons, with thoughts, like reverberation, monster trucks. Your inner eye gets stuff projected on it, thoughts. Think about stuff and you see it in your inner eye. Now, some people have such a great facility in this that for me to say this, they're like, duh, of course, Aurora, of course that is what is going on all the time. Some people have a diminished inner eye and lack of ability to visualize. So, and I never mean to demean anyone. It's like not everybody has perfect pitch. Not everybody can, say what a note is or match a note with their ear on the piano. That is okay. People have different levels of facility, and also everybody's on a journey of growing. So even if you might not have good tone recognition now, the ability to listen to music or understand it, or you might not have good visualization right now, you can develop it. This is big. Not only in regular times you can grow and develop, but flying rainbow lasagna, this really means you get to jump up and over any consciousness blockages, any genetic blockages, whatever obstacles have been present, neurological blockages that have prevented you from being able to effectively use and activate your higher faculties. So wait, let me drink a little bit more and keep going. This is huge information that is totally about your personal empowerment also. So I am not about hiding information. And if I had children, I would overtly tell them Santa and the Easter Bunny, these are fabrications. I would not, hold up some kind of a lie. This information about what your pineal gland is, how it relates to your third eye, how reality is projected or emanates from this structure, was held like a very secret, guarded thing. Oh my goodness, like Frodo in the ring, or like whatever, Gollum in the ring. I was like, he didn't want to share it. It's a huge empowerment is what I'm trying to say. Well, the cat is out of the bag, and you all should have access to this. This is what I'm trying to say, that this area of your anatomy and being a virtuoso and having a paintbrush and knowing that you can paint reality is what every one of us is supposed to be able to be doing. So again, don't chastise yourself if you're not good enough at visualizing, but everybody is on the journey of being able to do these visualizations. So I'm highly adept at being able to visualize. For me, it came very easily, just like some children are born with perfect pitch or these, piano skills and things like that. So, but I understand it's a ladder that you climb up and you get to that level of being able to see. And it's like you've gained the muscles to be able to be there. So this is really crucial. When this pineal, so the gland, the gland emanates stuff. So it does two things. It's a transmitter and receiver. So on the one hand, it is receiving signals, thought signals, that then get projected onto, let's draw a little movie screen in there, get projected onto the movie screen of your imagination. That's the movie screen of your imagination. Although I drew it in yellow, maybe it should be blue. But let's draw a little blue stick figure in there and say, hey, this is the guy that you're imagining on the inner movie screen of your imagination. And that little stick figure is there because you thought about him. You put him there with your mind. You thought about him. But then something else happens too. And that is that this whole apparatus is also like a movie projector that then projects onto the movie screen of reality. Let's say this is the trapezoidally shaped movie screen of reality that's all the way across the room from your pineal gland, and your pineal gland makes projections of your imagination onto the movie screen of reality, and here's the manifestation of that little stick figure guy that you first stimulated and imagined up in your pineal gland. This is big. This is about how to paint reality with the paintbrush of your mind. This is why I'm devoting 2 hours to this information, because it is worth it, because it is all about how you can become a virtuoso artist and not just be a ping pong ball bouncing around and being at the mercy of all of these all of these previously established forces. Let me just drink a little bit more. Okay. So the pineal gland is separate from the indigo chakra. Now let's highlight the indigo chakra. In this drawing, I got to use a different color. Forgive me for being such a perfectionist. Oh, wait. I can do something better than that. Hold on. I'm going to do something even more exciting for highlighting. Look at this. Yeah. This is one part of the indigo chakra. This is another part, even though I know I'm doing it in white. And you can see this is shaped like a lens. And it's in front of your big, fat face. You have a lens in front of your face. I talk about this all the time. That's why I'm talking in this way. Don't take my lightheartedness, I'm not insulting you at all. It's in front of all of our big, fat faces. This is the anthropomorphic lens. This is the human viewpoint. This is how we look at the world through our own expectations and our own motivations and our own viewpoint. Like I told you in a previous class, if you are a dolphin, your lens is shaped like a dolphin, like we're the anthropocentric lens. They're the dolphin or cetacean-centric lens. I don't know what it would be in your language. You're self-centered, but this is not like in a mean, horrible way. It means that you look at the world through your own life experience, and that's appropriate. So for dolphins, it's all about swimming and waves and fish, and that is their contextual understanding of reality. And they're not stupid at all. And for humans, it's all about like coffee and driving the car and paying the bills and money. You know, like it's all the things that we look at the world. So for humans, I'm being more serious now. When we anthropomorphize the world or look at the world through our human lens, we see faces everywhere. We see the world through our expectation of life having a face. When human scientists are on the search for intelligent life, they ain't looking for like slime balls or like, you know, blobs or energy plasma balls. They're totally unprepared for that. Like they're looking for something that has a face. They're like, is there a face on Mars? Is there life on Mars? They want to know if there's a face out there. Like this is anthropocentrism. And so you also got to be ready. Like maybe it does have a face. Maybe the face looks like what's printed on my dress. Maybe it's not this type of a face. Maybe that's why I had to fly Rainbow Lasagna into this body and get this type of a face so that I could even talk to you guys. Because like, I just, you know, there's moderate frustration. I'm like, you know, trying to get through. So it's the anthropocentric lens. But all of this is supposed to be mitigated with the violet, this chakra that I'm highlighting up here, which kind of nests within and is protected by this indigo chakra and is very much a part of or a partner to, like your heart and your lungs work together. Your violet and indigo chakras work together. They coincide. That's what's going on at this little spot. Oh, sorry. Hold on. So I will go back to that diagram that I was looking at, but I just saw, because I can't always see the chat when I have the diagram going. Sharon says that she cannot always recognize faces, so much so shopping with her husband is not so easy. She's like looking around like, where did he go? So that's kind of interesting. We might have some, you know, commonalities there because, you know, have brain damage or some, you know, neurological challenges after brain trauma. And recognizing people's faces and recognizing people's voices out of context is a real weak point for me. And remembering people's names, like these are all huge things that are really important for a proper socialization. Like if someone calls you on the phone, you're like, oh, that's my friend Bob. You say, hi, Bob, how are you today? But I always like, if there's no caller ID, I always have to have someone say like, you know, who it is explicitly. Or sometimes if I meet someone, like they have to tell me their name and things like that. Like these are real challenges. And this is all about the anthropomorphic level. You know, how we name each other, how we recognize each other. So as we move towards more abstraction and as our higher faculties come online, as a collective society and as individuals, you begin to see more of these abstractions. You begin to be able to individuate the abstractions. Be like, oh, that's my friend, like this, you know, purple geometric amethyst kind of shaped crystal thing. And like that becomes more normal. You don't, I'm trying to say, or what is my experience is, it is normal to have friends that don't necessarily have faces. That's what life is like in the abstract world. So we're talking in this lesson, really focusing on this level, the human anthropocentric level of perception, human definition, human reality creation, but we're also focusing on this as understanding the partnership with violet, which is the abstract. And the abstract must inform the anthropomorphic. Go back. Oh, did it get rid of all of my drawings? That's so frustrating. The abstract is this good that I was just drawing up here. No, it's supposed to be fat. Make it fat. This that I was just drawing up here, this is the abstract. And these are like two little mechanisms that work together. And then there is the anthropomorphic, which is this larger blue one. They work together like little interlocking gears. So in previous years, I've described it like a marriage or a partnership, but then I recognize there's a lot of inequity in many marriages and partnerships. Someone's always getting screwed, so they have to talk about this in a different way because this is supposed to be about equity. This is supposed to be where you have the violet chakra that is mainly situated vertically, and that's where you plug into higher dimensional reality. It's the librarian of the cosmos that tells you, look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. And the lens is the lens through which you are supposed to perceive. So these are like two interlocking apparatuses. Or you could think of it like a compass needle. Your violet chakra is like a compass needle. Sometimes it's like, I'm over here. No, I'm zoning in over here. No, I'm going over here, going over here, going over here. Like it's constantly tuning into different signals or levels of consciousness or origins of ideas or broadcasts. And it's supposed to tell the lens, the anthropomorphic level of understanding, human level of understanding, where to look and what is important. That's a big lesson. Like, what is important? You know, if you have a screen or if you have an arrangement or whatever, there's supposed to be like a focal point. Like, what is important? What are we supposed to be looking at here? And a huge aspect of our survival and what our perception is based on is filtering out the crap. Like, I don't need to know about all that crap. I just need to know about what's important. Like, that's essential. If you could see like down to the, you know, minutiae scale of every single thing, you might just be overwhelmed by too much information. Like, you don't need to see the microbes that are crawling on the surface of every single thing that's in the world. It might be better to be able to just paint in broad strokes and see the information that you actually need. This is your filtering system that is guided by a higher dimensional level of intelligence that is purely abstract, but it guides your perception. But that in guiding your perception, that also is guiding your reality creation, because that has everything to do with the paintbrush that comes out of your mind and the paintings of reality that you subsequently create. So just like when if you have a dream, you understand that you are creating a mind-created realm. Let me just drink a little bit more. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. It's warm in here, and also I like all the talking. It's like running a marathon. We realize that we are in a mind-created realm if we realize that we're in a dream. But reality, or the realm that we are in right this moment, is reality with air quotes around it, is also a mind-created realm. And right now, most people have been creating this realm unwittingly or without a great deal of focused intention. And I have a video that's all about this that I think is really worth watching, that I did years ago as a standalone video called Reality Creation. You can do just like a search on YouTube for it or whatever. I mean, I can dig up the link, but it's easy to find. And it's all about, I use the analogy of making cookies. So here is what your anatomy is like. Your pineal gland is the bakery of your body. And it is like a translation device that is all about taking the raw material, like the raw dough of reality, of potential. You know, I've been teaching you in this class. We're on about week 8. We're about halfway through the semester. You are all experts at this point. You understand this is time. This is the potentials, the possibilities and probabilities or likelihoods of time. This is the raw stuff, the things that can happen. And our apparatus here, our bodies and the pineal gland itself, this is all about condensing those possibilities into actual experienced realities, baking the potentials into actual bread, actual physical timelines that we can embody and inhabit and experience. So this teaching and understanding this is really all about claiming your where you are, your role, claiming your role, because you're not just like bumping along. You're not just sitting there like bumping along, not just a passenger, being like, oh, this crap is happening to me. I'm totally disconnected from any of it. And wow, I don't like it. That is not what is going on. Very much what is happening is you are directly connected to all the crazy crap that is happening all around you and to you, but it's been largely out of your control, not through your fault at all. Because again, we've had a hijacking of reality. So this is about unhacking or unhijacking the hijacked reality. So what has been happening is the raw dough of pure imagination. And your imagination, like, we need to redefine this term, because culturally, parents say to their children, like, it's just your imagination. Like, they denigrate imagination, say it's worthless, it's stupid, it's anything that's imaginary is not good. Like, oh, imaginary pancakes, like, that's not good. Real pancakes are good. So this whole idea of like imagination being quite worthless, and even certain expressions in reality They say, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. All of those things, it is all about saying like your imagination is low and worthless, and you are low and worthless, and just having thoughts and fluffy thoughts means nothing. Ha ha ha! I laugh in your direction. I'm joking. I'm mocking. I'm pretending to be this being that are mocking. Okay. But what really is truthful is that the raw materials of our imagination are incredibly valuable, and they've been stolen from our direct use. If you could imagine yourself as being like a beautiful princess that has a trust fund or some kind of like family golden jewels and things like that, it's all stored up in a bank account. And it's your stuff, it's your jewels, but you don't have direct access to it. And then there are the horrible, people that have taken over your kingdom or your realm, and they're selling off the family jewels. Like, they're selling off goblets and things like that, and then taking the money and doing what they want with it. That's what's been going on with humanity right now. Humanity is literally like a royalty, a beautiful, beautiful, noble species. And that has this beautiful birthright of treasure, which is the imagination, this valuable gold that emanates from within. And these other species have come along and co-opted it. They took it and they said, we're going to take your gold, we're going to take your imagination, we're going to take and your imagination is also your passion. It's also your guts inside. Like, it's all the stuff inside of you that's like powerful, juicy, good stuff. It's what artists and musicians use to make stuff happen and get stuff. It's how babies are born, that type of stuff. So all of that raw potential gets siphoned off by these invading crapheads, and then they appropriate it. They take the treasury and they spend it the way they want to. So they've been spending it on horrible, horrible projects like poisoning the environment and making people have cancer and all of the things that are really crappy about our world. We would not imagine, we as humanity, we as individuals would not imagine this circumstance. We would not imagine this level of violence and decrepitude in our planet. We would imagine good things. We would imagine that our bodies are happy and healthy, and we have clean air and water. We have walk around like every day is like what we would consider vacation. Every day at the beach. How do dolphins live every day at the beach? They're having a good life. So yes, they pity humans. They're like, they only get to do this for 2 weeks out of the year. Oh my God, they feel very, very sad for humans. Yeah, no, but I digress. But okay, wait. Back to the topic. Reality creation. Our reality creation is part of our connection to the divine, and that's what got diminished or hijacked or misappropriated. So what we are doing right now in this generation, and people of every age, from little tiny infants to people that have been here for many decades, we are reconnecting to our higher faculties. It's like a reawakening process. Or imagine if you had once had eyesight, your eyes got damaged and you couldn't see for many years, and you learned to compensate, like you learned to feel your way around and do things that you needed to. But then what if there was a miraculous surgery or something that could come and change that whole thing, then you could see and perceive again? This is what is happening with humanity. So the intellect has been the compensatory mode that humans have developed in order to deal with being blinded from their higher vision for so long. And likewise, verbal communication, like writing things down and speaking with the mouth, because when you are awakened at this level, you are able to be telepathic, and telepathy does not happen usually articulated and verbalized in good words. So although this is the anthropomorphic level of perception, do not equate it with verbalized language. I got to stuff all this stuff that's in my head into this verbalized language like for 2 hours a week in here. Like, it's very challenging. So all the stuff that is in our true mind, in our true state, it is nonverbal. And it is much more subtle, much more sophisticated, and moves at a much faster rate than conversational English allows. So direct telepathy is much faster, more direct and more accurate, but it does not involve words. I also want to tell you, real telepathy is done on a bridge of love. That's what I was telling you about at the beginning of this presentation today. Your heart, you must make that tone, love tone. Got to make the right tone and get enough gas in your car to be able to have these other aspects of your being stacking on top of here and moving around in the right way. It's just like, I don't do any kind of advanced yoga or anything like that, but it's just like you have to work your way up, or in ballet or some kind of thing like that. Like you start with this, Then when you master that, then you add this, and then when you master that, then you add this. And that's exactly how it works in terms of awakening the higher faculties. That it's been an artificial diminishment. Humanity has been kept below this level for a very long time. Humanity is now, perforce, getting up there because it's happening. It's our planet is becoming transformed. We are becoming transformed. It's like we're riding this wave of consciousness transformation. So nothing can keep us down anymore. This is quite inevitable, but not everybody experiences their development at the same rate. Just like babies, little tiny babies. I'm a little tiny baby. Just do it. Think of yourself as a little tiny baby, and I think it helps a lot because as humanity, we are in uncharted territory. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and a lot of us are going to be tying our shoes for the first time. Let me drink a little bit. There's a lot of firsts. Like when you're a little tiny baby, you're like, I don't know how to do this, but then you learn how to do it. And you're like, oh, I did it. I learned how to do it. That's what happens as the higher faculties come online. Like you might be like, oh, that's too hard. I don't know how to do it. No, it's not too hard. Like the way that you learned how to do anything, slowly and incrementally, and you break it up into pieces, and then at a certain point you're like, oh wait, I did it. And then you learn that you can learn, and you keep on going. So let's talk about these apparatuses too. This I call your library card of the cosmos. This I call the librarian of the cosmos. So in achieving the love tone, you get energy in your savings bank. Here's how you awaken higher faculties. You got to get money in your savings account because using your higher faculties is expensive. So you got to eat good food and refine a lot of the good energy out of the food. You got to do sun gazing. Sun gazing is a couple of lessons away, but we'll get into what that is. You have to learn inner silence or different ways of mindfulness so that you're not constantly frittering away your energy in verbalized thought, which is literally friction inside of your mind. So you're in a frictionless state where you're not throwing money out the window. Like imagine you got your heat on, but you got your windows wide open. Your mom and your dad says, what are you trying to do? Heat the whole neighborhood, like you're throwing money out the window. That's what verbalized thought is like. So you learn to conserve your thought energy. Make the love tone as you move through time. And then you find that you have energy in your savings bank. Like I ate good food, I sun gazed, I didn't throw my energy out the window on errant thoughts and whatnot and nonsense. Now I find myself with enough energy to actually book time on the inner telescope. That's what this is. It's now time for me to kind of do a short rant or diatribe about augmentation of the inner eye. And I haven't really done anything like this formally. Like people who talk with me, they know how I feel about things. But I really think I have to say this formally. Although I drink raw cannabis juice and I use CBD medicine, and I'm a huge proponent of cannabis for medicine, and I think that it should be totally not only decriminalized, but like a part of our economy. Like everybody should grow a garden, everybody should grow cannabis in their garden. You should be able to grow and eat and smoke and drink as much of it as you want to. But again, I use it in a way that is not psychedelic, that is not profoundly tripping. I'm not tripping all the time, and I also think that we can't equate CBD and raw cannabis and dietary cannabis, like raw dietary cannabis, is a totally different experience than something like magic mushrooms, smoked DMT, ayahuasca in a brew, like all of these different psychedelics. So all of those psychedelics that I'm mentioning and everything else that are things. I don't take any of that stuff. People, they look at my paintings, they think like, oh, like you saw that on DMT? Like, no, the truth is I'm not augmented. Like I don't got implants. I don't got anything fake. No, I'm no fake boobs. That's what I'm trying to say. No offense to anyone who has fake boobs. But I'm trying to say like I'm all natural here in my mind. The way that I do this is all natural, not augmented. And that there is a huge qualitative difference between drinking raw cannabis juice and, taking CBD tinctures. That is different than, whatever, taking mescaline or psilocybin or any of these things, any of these wild hallucinogens. So what's the difference? What's the difference? It's kind of like, running a marathon, you run 26 miles, or doing it on a scooter. It's like, you're doing it on a scooter, like you'll finish the marathon, but that is not the same as running it under your own power. So what I do is under my own power. That's what this is. I'm teaching you how to be virtuosos so that you can do it under your own power. And then it is not dependent on anything. It's not dependent upon, is it the right phase of the moon? Do I have the right magical implements? Do I have my magical crystals? Do I have my magical elixir? Do I have a wing of a bat and an eye of a newt? Like, you don't have to be in that way. Just the same way, like making a painting. You know what I need to make a painting? Like a paintbrush, a piece of wood, the colors, like I need colors, like it's not like, oh, it's some like thing that has to could only happen under the right circumstances. Like, no, it just happens. It happens in the right, like all of this is supposed to be your natural talent, your natural skill that unfolds in hand with divinity. And like taking some kind of a thing to make it happen is like an artificiality. There's something that is at its baseline incorrect there. It's like saying like you're only in first grade, but somehow you want to read at a 12th grade level. So you're going to somehow, drink a magic elixir and read War and Peace, even though you're just in kindergarten or something like that. That's not right. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Let me drink a little bit more. And I hope that what I'm saying here does not sound like a nanny scolding anyone, because I really do believe in personal freedom. What I'm much more trying to do is give caution, like a cautionary tale, that there's a price to pay for all of these artificial augmentations. Making anything more earlier than its time. Like imagine that there's a plant and it has a natural cycle of like first it vegetates, then it makes a flower, the flower is fertilized, and then it grows its fruit. But you're like, no, I want to skip all of that BS at the beginning. I just want to get a big giant tomato at the end. So we're going to do like all this chemical, weird, genetically modified stuff, and then we're going to jump straight to tomato. Like if I told you about that, you'd be like, that sounds horrible. That sounds like frankenfood. Like that doesn't sound like a healthy, good, nutritious tomato at all. But this is what a lot of people want to do with their inner perception, with their inner eye. They want to go from 0 to 60, from having like no inner vision. They want to drink a magical elixir and then have their minds blasted open and see all these colors and patterns and, be in a higher dimensional reality without doing any of the intervening steps. That's what I say. It's like, no training for the marathon, but you get on a scooter and kind of go around the course. But it is a different experience. And also, I think that it causes, let's say, residues. There are long-lasting changes in the balances, like biochemical balances of what molecular substances are available in your brain as a result of doing these different types of psychedelics. It changes the balance of your brain, just like changing the tuning of your guitar. So yeah, there are definite challenges in that sense. And then I have to speak about this. So let's say your inner eye, it's like a light bulb that's meant to come online at a certain rate at the right time. Like you could trust the great conductor, tap, tap, tap. It is time for you to start to awaken, to start to sing your music, to start to perceive that you're part of the band. But what if you're like, I'm tired of waiting for you, stupid great composer. I'm just going to drink a magic elixir and I'm going to wake myself up and start singing really, really loud instantaneously. Like that might not be the right thing for you to be doing for the entire band. So a lot of people are playing some really bad music by artificially starting to play, to join their band or open their eyes, be a part of the higher dimensional reality by augmenting their inner eyesight, without doing the intervening steps, without having the integument or the stuff that ties it together, without the balance, without the foundation stuff. And what they are perceiving is outside of their reading level. And in many ways, I think it is harmful and distorting. That the great beauty of this system of the violet chakra being the librarian informing what you are supposed to look at with your library card is that you have guidance that gives you the exact nourishment or information that you need at your moment on your journey. That's what is supposed to be happening here. That we're all supposed to be experiencing this moment by moment healing process, a wholeness process, where we have literal events in reality where you read something or you learn something, you ingest something, you hear something, you have a sensorium experience and a thought, and that thought makes you healthier and righter, that makes you go from being askew to more and more and more and more in alignment. Think about that. Think about like if you listen to some beautiful music like Bach or Jimi Hendrix in a beautiful cathedral and it made you feel like, oh, like I think I'm in heaven, and you felt yourself getting in a better state. Or if you read a poem or some kind of uplifting short story that at the end of it, like you had little tears in your eyes and you're like, I feel better than I felt at the beginning of what I was just reading. Like there are thoughts that you can ingest that are like a food that bring you from being askew, out of alignment, going towards a death, to being in alignment with divinity, in alignment with eternal experience, in alignment with your true self. And that is what the librarian is supposed to bring to us. like not only in terms of something like a music, composed music that you might listen to, or a book that you might listen to, but how about an experience? Like you might have had some, it might be chance encounter or synchronicity, even in a local coffee shop, that similarly gives you a type of nourishment. Someone says a thing, or I've had people that have connected with me, and it gives me a feeling of real love, like little tiny tears in the corner of my eyes, and I really feel like something special and magical just happened. This is the synchronicities, the healing, the wholeness, and our entire day is supposed to be full of that. That's what happens when you read the books in order. And you don't have to take a drug that somehow magically augments this. So I now understand that some people go to festivals or Burning Man or something like that, because that's what my mini rant was about, like rant over. But I think people go to like a festival or something like that, and they have this mini magical experience for a weekend. They might ingest some mushrooms or LSD, and then everything that happens seems like a profound significance, a synchronicity, like they're meeting all the right people and being exposed to all these wonderful things, and everything falls into place. And then, of course, a lot of it is because of the augmentation of the molecules that everybody has taken under these experiences, and also their willingness to be in that state. And then after the weekend and after the molecules wear off, it's like, bam, like faceplant, like back to reality, back to life, back to reality. I gotta drink some music here. Here we go. I know I get silly sometimes, but yes, back to life, crashing into reality and laundry and everything like that. I see that there's comments. I have to get to comments and give everybody, take a little break. We'll take a break while the camera is still going. But yes, this is the cautionary tale of artificial augmentation, is that it might make things feel significant that are not naturally significant. So there's salience. That is part of what this inner eye does in terms of our filter of reality. It throws out what is not meaningful. Like if you were to look at my screen here and say like, okay, just, you're focusing on me. You're not looking at anything that's not meaningful. Like you're not looking at like, there's a hat hanging up on the closet in the background. There's like masking tape. There's stuff stuck on the door. Like you're not focused on that. You're focused on what matters, and hopefully what sticks with you. Like after the video, what you will stick with you, and what everything like that. You're not going to be like, yeah, I was looking at that green masking tape in the background. Like that's not a salient point. That does not matter. That could be there. That doesn't have to be there. It doesn't matter. So this filter, when people take an elixir or some kind of a drug that augments or opens it or makes the world look different through your filter, it distorts what is important. You can meet someone who is not only not important, but who is overtly malevolent. But through the filter of tripping, it's like, oh, this is a special magical encounter. Like this is someone I really need to talk to. Or anything, any of the decisions or life trajectories that might arise as the end result of taking a molecule and being exposed to information that is not at your reading level. That I don't think that this is healthy and a good way of doing things. So I don't know. I never want to appear like I'm some kind of a nanny or something like that saying, eat your vegetables, like drink raw cannabis, go to bed early, don't go to these rock and roll raves. I'm not trying to be like that because I'm very joyous. And actually, I love music and I love self-expression. But I think that I've witnessed this being done in a way that is not healthy and not nourishing. And so, and generally I'm about freedom, and it's like, yes, like you can do what you want to do with your body, but also like, let's just say, I'm telling you guys in this class, like huge yellow caution flags. And like, I don't take DMT or any kind of thing like that. And I'm also cautioning, I think that when people take molecules can be molecular doorways or portals for beings and energies and entities to enter into you. So wait, let me drink a little bit and then we'll talk about this as a portal, okay? This is a portal that energy comes into and energy comes out of. So it's a projector, our paintbrush of reality that we are using to project reality, but also we are not the only person stimulating our inner eye. There are many beings that can stimulate our inner eye. At this level of our experience, it is hugely important to have discernment on your inner movie screen about what you are actually projecting here in this lucid dream of reality, as opposed to what is being projected upon you. What is interference from something else? So you know something, I'm not a psychopathic violent person. When I have violent imagery in my mind, I know that that is an intrusive thought. Like, I did not project that into my imagination. Um, if you watch a lot of violent movies or read a lot of violent books and stuff like that, that imagery is at play in your mind. And it doesn't take that much for something else to kind of just like stir up trouble, just kind of like make those images come to mind. So, I mean, like, I literally don't expose myself to those images for that reason, because I find them to be like a smell that lingers. Like, if you cook with garlic and hash, you're like, we can still smell that after a long time. I watched Game of Thrones, and like, I could still see these images of some of these violences there. And I'm like, something, that is a smell that lingers, and we really don't need that. So I intentionally don't expose myself to those violent imagery. So when it comes up, I'm like, oh, I smell garlic. Something's here, And I'm like, no, not interested. So I don't like I'll edit that out of the movie. I'm like, no, we're not going to project that. But what I'm trying to say is that is happening all the time. Now I have to do another rant. Okay, so we're in this world right now that where not only your DNA has been anciently hijacked by malevolent, extremely sophisticated extraterrestrials, those same malevolent, sophisticated extraterrestrials are still here at play with humanity, and they're still effing with your mind. They have the capacity, because they are the software programmers of the human mind, to project what they want to onto your inner movie screen. It's not supposed to be that way, but it is that way. I'm very sorry to tell you about this. Yeah, it's not fun information. It's like I'm giving you like a tutorial on your computer, and I'm like, oh, and by the way, here's where you have a virus on your computer. Here's where it is hacked. Here's where they drained your bank account, because that's what I was telling you with the reality cookies, the little story. They drained your bank account. You're the princess. You're supposed to have all the money in the world and spend it on beautiful gowns. They drained your bank account, and they spent it all on their horrible, stupid, whatever, like war and bombs and guns and everything. Every time I say that, I think the algorithm flags me, so I shouldn't say those things. Yeah, they spent it on the worst civic projects, let's say, whatever, statues of idiots, and they didn't spend it on taking care of the people at all, right? Okay, so wait, I'm going to just take a little bit of a pause. We're going to get back into this area of anatomy in your pineal gland, what it is. There's lots and lots of comments. Let me do comments, and this is going to be a big, long 2-hour upload, so we'll just deal with the upload length too. Okay, Matthew says, just imagination, just thing where every idea, every invention, every building, every empire has ever come from. Imagination, exactly. So let's also say this. If you were a malevolent species and you wanted to heavily influence the trajectory of a particular vulnerable, group of people, you could just inject your crapola directly into their imagination. You'd be like, oh, like, I'm just going to give this guy the idea to imagine up this little piece of an apparatus, and then I'll just give this guy the idea to imagine a newly shaped bacterium that will just fit directly into this thing, and then I'll get this guy to imagine this. Like, it's just so freaking easy to do that. And that is what the malevolent beings that have influenced our planet have done, because they wrote the software programs, so they've got the back doors. They have the capacity to not only intrude verbally with verbalized minds, they can intrude with imagery. They can intrude with imagery. They can intrude with imagery. I know, I'm joking. This now is a mini rant that is all about everybody who's talking about being abducted by space aliens and going to Mars and being regressed and having all these life experiences and then being pumped back into their body. There are many, many unlikely tales of valor that people have come up with. And what I want to say is, not only have humanity been effed with on a genetic level, the effers didn't stop effing with you. They're still effing with you. They eff with you at night when you go to sleep a lot of the time. They eff with you when you go on an augmented journey by DMT into the lower astral, which is another reason not to use those things, because you don't go to good places. Like, you don't go to the good neighborhoods. Like, those trains do not run to good neighborhoods. Okay, sorry, I'm still ranting. But now I'm on this other rant about like the secret space program crapola. Because, when that all came out, I knew that that was not truthful. But in many ways, it's kind of like, if you're like, okay, like, people can eat sugary snacks if they want to. Like, I'm not the nanny of the world. Again, really cognizant of that. However, I think it has been taken into destructive directions about not understanding that what many people experience as abduction experiences are abductions of your mental trajectory. where your mind is placed in a not real mind created realm. Like right now, we're in a mind created realm. I'm sitting here in my studio. Y'all are sitting in your homes or your offices. We're having this conversation. This is a mind created realm that we know as consensual reality. But what some of these sophisticated and malevolent species can do, because they got the back doors for your software programs, is reach into your consciousness and put you in whatever type of a mind created realm they want to. Like it could be a horrible, torturous mind created realm, where imagine you only get to listen to the Bee Gees all day long and it's at top volume and they never turn it off. They'd be like, no, make it stop. No, I'm joking. Whatever is your least favorite music. Or they could put you in a realm where that's like a fake heaven, you know? Say, oh, yes, you've died and gone to heaven, and this is your fantasy, like a heavenly realm, you know, something like that, like a religiously flavored fake heaven type of realm, and anything in between. And, or say, like, you're on a different planet, like, hey, I'm going to take your mind on a flight of fancy and make you think that you're either swimming in a cloud or flying in a metal spaceship or going to another planet and having all sorts of extracurricular experiences, right? But what really is happening is a very, very horrible form of mind rape. And it is not consensual and it's not what is supposed to be going on at all. So first of all, just because a person might experience pleasurable sensations or might think that it was interesting or fun or might write a book about it later does not mean that it was appropriate or good or right at all. And that's definitely like reading, going above your reading level. Like none of that is the appropriate use. So like it's a grotesque tomato. It's a tomato out of season. It's a tomato with no vine and no root system that just got injected with all sorts of crazy hormones to be a tomato with no substructure. It ain't right to do that type of stuff. It ain't right to do that type of stuff to a person's mind. It is totally unethical and wrong and disgusting. Just like humans have the development of sexuality, where first you are prepubescent, and it is wrong and disgusting to do something sexual with someone who's prepubescent because they literally don't have the biological substructure to be able to accommodate that physical activity. They're not mature for that. That is one of the reasons why children are completely off limits to sexuality in any way. They don't have that maturity. They have not developed into what they are. To take a person who has no natural use of their inner eye and scoop them up and put them into some kind of a psychic realm, that's wrong. That's not right at all. That's like totally being sexually precocious with some tiny child that it doesn't even know what they're doing. So yeah, none of this is right. And a person, just like a sexually precocious child, might feel like, oh, I'm special. The adults like me. Look at how they're lavishing me with attention or whatever. A person who is having these augmented experiences and going with aliens on what they think are experiences to Mars and other planets, it's disgusting. It's not right. It's a grotesque tomato. What should happen is you should create a foundation of love, develop your higher faculties, develop your own psychic muscles, do it without augmentation, do it as an adult with an immune system, you know, with the Merkaba around you, intending to go where you want to go. Not like have someone else scoop you out, have their way with you, do whatever they want, and then scoop you back into your body. That's the grotesque tomato. That's not right, because it is too soon. It is not at the right level of maturity. So, oh my God, you might have to work for it. Oh my God, it might take many decades. Oh my God, it might or might not happen in your lifetime. That's, you know, the attainment. That's the attainment. But many people would prefer the immediate gratification and all of the negative ramifications of doing it in that way. Let me just drink a little bit more. And I'm not judgmental of it, but I also don't appreciate it because it makes bad music that affects everyone. It makes it bad music of the mind. There are a lot of people who are on the microphone and they're being artificially made louder, amplified. Their voices aren't good yet. You know, their minds aren't good yet. They're still really unformed. They're not ready to be broadcasting at that level. And mostly with this augmentation, what I'm seeing, let me just close this up here. Mostly what I'm perceiving is that people do this augmentation and then they get time on the inner telescope. What do? They spend it on bull crap. I want to say a different word. I try to keep it family friendly, relatively. Sorry if there's some kids watching. Sorry. They spend it on nonsense and poppycock. Yes, they do not spend it on good stuff. So nonsense and poppycock, this would be like violence, fighting, backbiting, human drama crapola. The whole idea is when you go through these levels of personal refinement and you awaken your higher faculties in a natural way, then you have moved beyond human drama, silliness, poppycock, crapola, all of that. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, I want to get super powerful with awaken my superpowers so that I can then spy on people when they're naked, or steal money, or get secrets, or get revenge on all the people that bullied me in third grade. Like, that is not why we do this type of stuff. That's the whole point. Like, all of the people that are motivated in that way, like, they don't pass the audition. They kind of get left out in the cold because they ain't cool. Like, they don't get to be playing at this level. You get to play at this level when your motivation is more a motivation of divine self-expression, that you claim yourself as an apparatus that is attached only to the divine, to God, not a biblical God, you know me by now, to real God, and that is what you are committed to, and that is what you use to emanate reality. That's a powerful commitment. This is what I'm talking about. Some people will sell access to this, and it is an insult to the divine. If the divine is like, oh wait, I thought we had a thing going. I thought we had a good thing going. Like, I thought that it was like, I gave you energy, you manifested this energy, and it was like beautiful music between us. But now, like, you're like letting someone else come between us, and you're going to take their ideas and start manifesting their ideas. Like, that doesn't seem very respectful. I would agree. I would say that does not seem very respectful. So many people don't do it intentionally. And many people would like to connect with the real divine, but they have a lot of social programming that's part of the human lens. And the social programs have to do with the earth religions. If you can see, I wear a cross, but I'm not affiliated with the Christian church or earth religions or anything like that. Like, I'm affiliated with Christ consciousness. That's what this lesson is all about. Wait, let me drink more. Your pineal gland is intimately connected with Christ consciousness. And I'm in the United States, generally a Western culture, a Judeo-Christian culture. I'm not in the Far East. I'm not in India. Or if I were there, I would talk about Krishna, just Krishna consciousness. So it is a part of our body. It's a part of our anatomy that is our connection to time and our connection to divinity. And we're supposed to take ideas and energy from God in an unformed way and put it through our movie screen, movie filter, projection apparatus, and make reality happen. And then it's a feedback loop, because then reality feeds back into us, and we project the dream, and the dream comes back into us and affirms all these different things, and then we send that signal back to the divine. Like, it's beautiful. It's supposed to be a beautiful partnership. That's supposed to be what's going on. So the genetic invaders are like the interlopers that stepped in on that beautiful relationship, and they tried to take over. So in the Reality Cookies video that I did, I talk about how, it's kind of like if you had a big giant field of wheat that you were growing, and that's where you are going to make the dough of reality from. And it's getting to be nice and almost time for harvest, and someone else comes along on the full moon in the middle of the night and takes all of your entire crop, and then they turn it into flour. And then they also have an industrial oven machinery, and they stamp out perfect shaped cookies that are all the same and send it to the industrial ovens. And what's supposed to happen is something completely different. We're supposed to have these artisan cookies where you harvest your own dough, which is the dough of possibilities, higher dimensional realities, fifth dimension and higher. Dough that you are growing in the fields of your imagination is the fifth dimensional and higher. They're the possibilities and waveforms of reality. And this is important stuff, because if you're some kind of stupid AI craphead, you don't have that. And that's why they want you and me. That's why they are so, envious. That's why they hate you so much. They are like, you are so creative and so juicy, and you have such huge imaginations, and I just totally hate you so much because you have something that I don't have. Like, they're envious. They're like the wicked stepsisters in Cinderella. Like, they're just that way. They want what we got. And I tell this to you not so that you'll be like this, but more so that you will understand and value what you got. Because I don't want you to sell it for cheap. I don't want you to sell it at all. I don't want you to have anyone come along like some, graspy person who's like, ooh, your imagination is so juicy. Can I have it for $500? How about $555? Like all these different, negotiations and bargaining and all this type of stuff. I want you to be like, no, my imagination is mine and it's sacred. It's my connection to the divine, and it's something that I don't sell to anyone, and that is only, my own thing to use. Like, I think that is hugely empowering, and that if everybody did that, that would cut off a lot of the food supply or the resources that are appropriated and misappropriated, stolen and misappropriated, and then used badly in our world. Because we're all supposed to be able to take that dough and use our imaginations to collapse the waveforms of higher dimensional reality into experienced physical reality. And we're supposed to be masters and virtuosos of this. That means we're supposed to be able to make the things we want to make. Not even on a small level, like, oh, I want to make a painting, but on a much larger level. Like, oh, I want to make a giant permaculture forest. It's a place for orangutans to live, because their habitat got chopped down for palm oil or something like that. For Nutella, which isn't even that good. Like, eat a decent chocolate, okay? I'm sorry. Don't make me rant, guys. Hold me back. Let me drink something here. It is the creation of reality. So yeah, humanity as a collective whole and as individuals, we've had the dough of our minds stolen and misappropriated and turned into burnt cookies that don't taste good to us at all. None of us like to live in a polluted world. We didn't use our imaginations to create the pollution of this world. Something else hijacked our imaginations and used that, distorted energy to make these things happen. And it's now time to reclaim our faculties. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. So the process of awakening, getting enough energy, getting enough gas in your car, booking time on the telescope, talking to the librarian in order to say, what should I look at? Like, once you get this awakened and you have time on the telescope, maybe you've got 2 hours. Like, imagine you had 2 hours in a great library where you could learn literally anything that you want to learn about any topic at all. How could you even choose? How would you even know what to look at? So the librarian could be like, okay, you're going to want to look at this, and this. Maximize your time, no BS, and, learn all the things you need to learn. And then, boom, you're out of the library. This closes down. Because, again, this is not meant to be open 100% of the time. I think that's a huge misnomer. Like, your physical eyes aren't open 100% of the time. You get to control whether they're open or closed or how much they are. Like, the augmentation that people do molecularly, I think, is not healthy because it is forcing open the inner eye, or artificially augmenting it with lots and lots and lots of thought energy in a way that it's not ready for yet. Wait. There's lots of questions. Let me get back to questions. Gala says, so on my skeleton picture that she posted on the Facebook page, she made the wheel of reality the wrong color? No, I don't think so. I think you made it right. I thought you made it red. No, you're totally perfect. Yeah, you could show it on full screen. That would be really great. So you asked me if that image was correct. You did a beautiful job at overlaying the chakras and the skeleton, but it's very hard to get the places where the chakras go into the skeleton to line up with the spine in the right spots where they're supposed to be. So that was the real issue. The way I have them spaced in the drawing does not necessarily match up with that particular drawing of the human spine. So you might need to Photoshop manipulate the spine in some way, stretch or warp or distort or something like that, the spine, so that the points of where they coincide with this, with the chakras, works properly. Let me just drink a little bit more. Thank you, Rainbow Body, for that cone that you said there. Yes, I think you understand. Ines, good to see you. Says, Aurora, when you speak about the input of higher intelligence guiding us via our violet chakra, where does it come from? Good question. Okay, and second part is it a part of our higher self or the divine source itself? Or does it depend on the frequency level we can open up to receive unaltered, clear information? Beautiful, beautiful question. So you said, is it part of our higher self or the divine source itself? I would really say that those two things are synonymous. I'm not exactly sure, like language is so difficult or whatever. But I think that when we get above the human octave, like once we start getting into the high notes, I think that it is the divine and it is also ourself. Like if we start to expand our definition of self to include these more subtle levels of layers of reality, it becomes us. And I think at a certain point, we just keep expanding until we expand all the way out and we become that divine. But it's like right now, like we need to be focused on the epidermis and being the epidermis. But the signals that we receive, I really perceive as coming from not an external God, but an internal God. Or think of it almost as yourself in the future. Future self, I think, is good because a big part of this is not a grasping or a reaching or a praying to something else, like something else, like help me here. It is a connecting with something, but it's an internal connection. So it's definitely an inner aspect of self, but higher dimensional, but an inner aspect of self. And when some people start to have their inner eye awakened, and they're up to here, but they're not yet up to here, so they're seeing just on the anthropomorphic level, sometimes they think that they're connecting with the divine, but they're really connecting with a lot of social clutter. And social clutter can be like stories, myths. Like maybe you think that you're talking with an ascended master, like you think you're talking with Superman, like you think you're talking with, any of these different people. We can make a name for them. I think that it's all static on the line or stuff that is like swimming pool, reflections instead of a perfectly clear, smooth, glassy surface that you can see through perfectly. So when you get up to this level of violet, you get to the level of abstraction that's up here that is incontrovertible, where there are no questions. And you don't think like, oh, am I talking to Superman? Like, is this, am I talking to Jarrell? Like, who am I talking to on the phone? Like, you know exactly who you're talking to. There's no prevarication. There's no questions about that. And I'm joking. I'm using superheroes as a joke or whatever. Like, am I talking to the Hulk? Who am I talking to? Because I think that some people think of it in that way. Like, which saint am I talking to on the psychic telephone? Or which angel? Or which person? Or which ascended master? And I think that that's the smears on the lens are cultural smears. Because think about this. If you lived in a different time and place, you would have a different expectation. Who are you talking to on the phone? Is it Lord this? Is it ascended master this? Is it a different mythological character? Is it, an ancient Greek mythological character? Is it an indigenous character? Like, your cultural filter depends upon what others have taught to you. So huge yellow caution flags on when you have raised your energy just up to this level, but not yet activated the abstraction. Because a lot of people do that and they're still interpreting everything they perceive through the cultural filter, everything that they learned from their mom and their dad and their ancestors and everything like that. And that stuff isn't accurate. So when you get to the level of abstraction, you're like, oh, that's how all of that stuff is not accurate. Now I get it. But there's this moment of vulnerability if you haven't made that full connection to thinking like, oh, this is the structure of reality. So just don't do that prematurely. So that's one of the other big cautions. Like, your heart and your lungs have to work together. Your insight and connection to the divine has to work together. And if you have one but not the other, it is not a balanced mechanism. And there's a lot of people that are, I would almost say like, in an insane asylum or something like that. Let me just do this. The issue that they're having is that they've got too much of this and not enough of this. Like, they've got an imbalance in their energy systems, as opposed to just thinking of it as a molecular imbalance or some biochemical problem or something like that. I really see that a lot of people, like schizophrenics and other people like that, what they're having is an imbalance of this chakra, which is your Christ chakra. And there's oh my goodness, I mean, there's imbalances and difficulties in almost all the chakras on our body, so don't take it personally, and it is pervasive, and it's what we're here to heal. Let me go into more questions. Okay, so these are beautiful questions. Rainbow Bonnie said, last 2 weeks, okay. That's so beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for telling me that, Rainbow. Matthew says, the plants are also all neutral. Okay. He says, you are a walk-in. We are here with you. People on this channel are ready to hear this, but Johnny Business needs the plants from the earth to blow him out of the programming. I understand what you're saying. Without the plants, he's not coming with us. Talking is not enough, only experience. He says, you are where you are. There are many people out there, soldiers with PSD, cannot have this explained. Modern therapy is not enough, and their meditations are very hard. These shortcuts are, in my opinion, this time needed to blast out the cake and move grossness on some individuals. I understand what you're talking about. It's a long thing. I'm going to break it. Like what Terence McKenna called the lumpen masses, right? Like some people are like calcified. They're like stuck. They're like stuck in their social perception. And you're saying, and I respect your opinion, that you feel that these augmentations are necessary to kind of like crack them open and get them out of that very, very limited viewpoint and mindset. I'll go back to what you're saying. It's not until I put my hands in the wounds will I believe, which is like the thing from the Bible, the doubting Thomas. It says he's seen very traumatic people change through ceremony. And it is, as I say, a shortcut, but don't believe a broken person can listen to FRL. I think this vibration is past that. Well, I think you're right, definitely. I would agree. But let me just yeah, I understand. He says that there's a value to taking it like in a medicine circle, in a ceremonial circle. I do agree that not everybody is at the level of being ready to embrace or embody that FRL concepts, especially someone who might be scarred by the violence of war. Because what we're talking about with this and the awakening of this is about creating reality. And I really think like you got to be responsible. If we're going to take a paintbrush or a spray paint can, and we're going to go, I'm spraying reality. I'm spraying my mind all over the place. Like, I want to spray beautiful rainbows everywhere. Come on, guys. You know me. If I sprayed my mind all over the place, it would be well organized, symmetrical, rainbow colored, like good, fun, happy, joyful stuff. But let's say, and this is no offense to anybody, but a person who like came home from a war, like a person who had to napalm other people and saw atrocities and was themselves wounded, if they sprayed with a big giant airbrush their mind all over reality, what would they spray? They would spray the externalization of all of their inner horrors, all of that violence, all of that. That needs to be healed before they start to paint with the paintbrush of their mind. I really do feel that they need to get into some deep emotional healing and be able to work through all of that trauma before they augment their voice and begin singing about all that trauma. Although I appreciate very much, it's a beautiful, respectful comment. I appreciate what you're saying. And I agree on a different level, in a similar way, about people who feel that they've been abducted. Like I have been to some UFO conferences very recently, like in the past year. I haven't been to them before that. And there's a lot of people that are talking all about like their traumas of having been abducted. And some people have even turned it into kind of like a cottage industry where, you know, they go on the circuit and they get paid talking about how they've been abducted. There's like a lot of display of trauma, but people that have not healed their trauma. And that is the issue that I take with that. Like, it is good for people to share their experiences. I think that a lot of these people are not intentionally lying. Like, their minds have been hijacked. They had these experiences projected upon them. It is good for them to talk about it. But what would be better is if they have gone through their experience of healing, come out the other side, and then they are prepared to talk about it as a healed person. Because I'm seeing a lot of like display of woundedness and people turning that again into kind of like their identity or their industry. And that what I feel would be much more appropriate or moving in a positive direction is get through your healing process and then share from the other side. So kind of a similar thing to the idea of a person who's profoundly wounded, been in a war, needing to get through that healing process before they start to join the band and talk about, creating on a profound level. Rainbow Body is making a good comment. I'm not going to read it. It's private to me. But what I think also is a good caveat is that cannabis and THC, hey, that can be used and abused or in an artificially augmented type of way too. I have to understand that because I don't use it in that way, but I have been to some of these whatever cannabis conferences where everybody does like these high THC dabs or high doses of edibles and things like that. And I've seen the zombies, like shambling zombies. Like I could not effectively connect with people and I had to understand and admit like, wow, okay. But I'm personally using cannabis in a different way. So I think that that is a good point. But what I would like to say is in terms of human freedom and decriminalizing drugs, I think that we need to make cannabis completely legal, non-criminal, and a basis for our economy but I don't feel that way about any other drug or substance. So I don't feel like, hey, like we should all of a sudden start planting fields and fields of kratom, or fields and fields of opium, or fields and fields of ayahuasca vines. No, I don't think that any of that is meant to be like the basis of our culture. I think that hemp and cannabis are meant to be like the basis of our culture for industrial purposes, for biofuel, for seeds, for our medicine purposes, and that it should be something where you should be able to do it in your backyard, not with some kind of severe licensing restrictions or something like that. That will transform the world. And a huge part of it has to do with the energy that the plant itself emits as it's growing. Like if we grow more and more cannabis and beautiful hemp, fields and fields of that, instead of fields and fields of horrible genetically modified corn, the tone of music in our entire planet would change, and our economy would shift too. So yeah, but I would not want to see like just endlessly flowing rivers of meth. No, I think that would be terrible, because that stuff is really, really bad for the human body. So no, we should not have just like flowing rivers of cocaine and heroin and methamphetamine and everything like that. Those are not equitable. That's what I'm trying to say. You guys got to start understanding there is this agenda. It's like, okay, we're gonna screw with you. Remember these effers, they're screwing with you. And we're going to say like, oh, sure, okay, you can have your freedom. You can have freedom to have all the drugs you want now, right? And then you can have all these shambling meth-addicted zombies. That's what I saw up in Northern California, that they'll take a decent neighborhood and just flood it with the white powdery drugs like methamphetamine. And then all that you will see are these horribly broken individuals, because those drugs are literally molecular portals for demons to come inside of the human genome. And here's the problem. People might be like, okay, like they went on a bender and they took a bunch of meth. You think it's just a weekend thing, right? But they're clean now. They only took that in the past. But the problem is they made these big, giant openings or orifices in their energy fields that all of these, you could call them parasites or implants or entities, came inside of. And then even though they stopped taking the drug, the parasites still remain. And the parasites aren't just some energy thing. They're thought structures. They are distorted thought structures. They're things that they read through their distorted lens that they artificially augmented with a bunch of molecules. None of this is good. None of this is good. It's not a good way to treat your body. Like there's a reason not to do it. And that stuff deforms people's teeth because your artificial augmentation of telepathy uses up a ton of calcium. And if you do regular telepathy that's just not artificially augmented or whatever, you might still need extra calcium in your diet, just between you and me. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Rainbow Body, for saying that. You understand about the, whatever, lower astral. It's quite a unpleasant place. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Ines. So those were just 2 private comments. Thank you very much. Daniela says, Christ and Krishna are those from the same root word. I absolutely feel that they're phonetically related, and that's not just some weird, wild coincidence. And some of the coincidences of the stories of Christ and the stories of Krishna, how they coincide. So there's like, overlap. I use the same word twice, I'm sorry. Born of a virgin birth, performed miracles and all sorts of things at a very young age. Brought peace to the land, didn't actually die, just ascended. And that also goes for a holy man of the Iroquois nation that was called Daganawida. And these are all like, they're icons, like examples of what happens when you become an awakened person, when you have these higher faculties. So when you have these higher faculties active, you can perform things that would be considered quote unquote miraculous or superhuman. But I would define them as regular human. I'm looking at my piano because we would say, this is human, but that's superhuman. But I'm like, no. That's regular human. That's just us when we really get our collective SHIT together and really get the band together. That is what we can be. And so, yeah, we can do that as an individual and you can do that as a group. And to me, that is my understanding of what the second coming or the arrival of Christ is here on this planet. Not the physical embodiment of a bearded sky god, but something that I feel is even better than that. That it is the awakening of these higher faculties and inner powers in a connected network of many of us at one time. And this is literally what is happening right now, like over the past couple of weeks, like nothing big. I joke about the casualness with which we talk about this, but this is what is happening. And it's been ongoing for a long time, but it's like saying, okay, like, we've been slowly opening our eyes over many decades, but at a certain point, it's like, okay, like, definitely awake. And there are a lot of other things that have been here trying to inhibit that eye-opening process. P.S. Apocalypse means eye-opening. It does not mean destruction of everything. It comes from Greek. Apokalyptos means lid, open. It means the opening of the eye. This is what this is. David, thank you so much. That's awesome. Wait. I want to skip to this. David says, your rants, Aurora, are symphonic chants. I love it. I love you. Thank you so much. And you inspire me, because what I'll do is I'll sample the rants. I'll take it, I'll put it into the DJ equipment, and we'll put a beat to it, and we'll put the rants like it'll be wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you. And I still have to respond to some emails. Thank you so much for understanding. Back to Miss Plugin said, so to read tarot or doing healing to a friend is good, but it's bad to charge money, right? Miss Plugin, I have to agree. First of all, I don't want anyone here to feel like it's inappropriate to reach out for help, because I think reaching out for help is good and right. And I do that, and I've done that the whole time that I've been here. Like, I came here like a little infant, in an adult body, and I was always looking for, like, how can I work together with people? How can I help people? How can I be helped by people? Like, I'm very community minded, and I think that is appropriate to be that way. So to reiterate, you don't have to be all like DIY, do it yourself. That's it. I'm a party of one. Like, I only look out for number one. It's not supposed to be like that. However, we live in unprecedented times. We live in a time when there's a lot of toxicity in, like, the food and the water and the people around us. There's a lot of people that are really infested with wetware, like 5G type of stuff. I hope that somebody stays peaceful and does not bark at the mailman that's outside right now. We'll see if it works. Good. I have to pause things. There's a lot of people that are not good to be surrounded by, that are not healthy to be surrounded by. So I think that it's really crucial to be discerning about who you share energy with, about who you talk with, about who you hug, who you allow into your life, in the same way that you would not want to allow and trust a horribly, a drug-addicted person into your life. Like, yes, here's my access code to my bank account, and here's my car keys. Like, you wouldn't do that. I think that it's really hugely important to be very, to have a very clear boundary. Like, so I want to say, find the good people and love and help them and be loved and helped by them, but have really, really clear boundaries against the overtly malevolent, the drug addicted. Hold on a moment. Elena says, are we already in all of the dimensions and just more aware of certain ones? Great question. Thank you so much. You've got more. Let's ask more. She says, if so, is it more a matter of increasing our awareness of ourselves as multidimensional beings? So we're already in the astral plane. Yes, we are already. You can go back to the whiteboard. I haven't shown this in many minutes. The pictures here. We are already living in all of these layers of reality. So we're in the physical and also all of these other rainbow colors. However, as you said beautifully, we are not necessarily focused in our awareness on these other more subtle layers of being. And some of that is genetic distortion. And some of it is also that we are asked socially or required socially to mostly focus on our physical five senses and our intellectual mindset. Like, mostly, if you're busy daydreaming, society is like, we don't like you. And definitely not if you're like in some whatever dreamlike or altered state. Society is like, we definitely don't like you. Like, pay attention and make some money. Like, society does not like it when you get into all of these space cadet levels. Society likes it when you stay in the yellow level, and you can have some orange level and definitely stay in the physical level. And so the challenges here right now, go back to your question. So the challenges are, like, if we want to make our experience of daily waking consciousness more like a lucid dream, less of a hard-edged reality. Like, as I was describing earlier, that some people go to a weekend festival where they will take some mushrooms or some, tripping elixir and make it feel like reality isn't real anymore. They feel temporarily free, but we're supposed to be able to be that free all the time in our ordinary mental state. We're not supposed to have to drink some kind of elixir to make us feel euphoric, happy to be alive, like life is a fun adventure. Let me just break in to say, like, we've got this lovely young person who's part of the class today. And I don't know if you guys remember like being a young person, but like life was very joyful. The very same thing that people try to return to that mind state by drinking a magic potion, we had mostly, if you had a good childhood, if you didn't grow up in wartime or something like that, mostly that mind state of being like adventurous and learning things for the first time. Like that is what so many people look for or crave in the psychedelic experience, to see the world that ordinarily they've taken for granted through a new set of eyes. But really, you're supposed to be able to have that viewpoint naturally. You're supposed to be able to walk around as an embodied adult and be able to coordinate your limbs, and drive a car, and do everything that adults do, and still have that fresh viewpoint of wanting to learn new things, being curious about the world, feeling that life's an adventure, having an imagination, having a joy de vivre, joy of life, wanting to be alive. That somehow our society equates being a grown-up and adulthood and maturity with losing your joyfulness, no longer looking at the world as if it's full of magic and possibility, but looking at the world as if it's like ripe for disappointment. Like, this will never work. I'm skeptical of everything. I'm a grown up, as opposed to young people that are like, woohoo, life's an adventure. This is gonna be awesome and fun. And then like, sometimes there's disappointment. It's like, oh, that wasn't awesome or fun at all. Like, okay, but that's all right. And usually my little four-legged one, she very much has that joy de vivre, and I have it too. And like, we go over here, we go to the park, like we have a lot of fun. We're not that serious. So that's a big part of it, that you don't have to lose that. I still maintain all of my responsibilities in life, even while I have a lighthearted or joyful approach. And also, I am a walk-in, so I did a lot of things as if for the first time, but like I've mastered all the things that you all have as an adult. Like I know how to tie my shoes and make coffee and things like that. Like I only do eggs one way. So it's like I haven't mastered every single way of cooking eggs, but mostly, I've mastered a lot of things. But there's always something new to look at, and there's always something new to learn. And life can be an adventure every day, as opposed to a grim death march, like one day closer to the agonized death. Like that is how many grown-ups or adults, that is like when they've lost their happiness and everything like that. So anyway, back to this excellent question from Elena. We are all the time in all of these dimensions. We're in the higher dimensions, like the worlds of pure possibility. That's us. If you're growing a giant field of wheat that's a field of possibilities, that's not separate from you, that's you. That's you, literally your own flesh. And then you scoop up all those possibilities and you can turn it into reality and make things happen. And this is what people would call magic. This literally like Merlin's magic, like I wave my magic wand and poof, a rabbit arrives. Whatever is the myth in this culture of what literal manifestation magic is, that's what that type of manifestation is. And that's been hijacked into what we now call mundane reality, the objective materialist viewpoint of how reality functions and how reality is manifested, and all of that totally takes out any of the magic of any of that. So I also have to talk about, so this is about observership and collapsing higher dimensional waveforms, but also flying rainbow lasagna is the rectification of all of this, because this is the combination of spirit and matter, where we had this previous bifurcation of the world of pure imagination or consciousness or potentials and imagination and reality, and then the world of physical hard-edged objects and other people and everything that we can all agree on with our five senses. And this brings those two worlds together and literally creates a new form of matter, spirit matter, spatter, right? It's a type of matter that responds directly to our thoughts and feelings and emotions. And that's the culmination of this journey of each one of us awakening to being Christ. That's what this is. And being Christ does not mean that you are like suffering endlessly at all. Like that's, as I said, like this journey of awakening to being Christ. I'm like, okay, like I don't know how they're going to take this as I say this, and I'm just going to have a little pause, because this is not, no one's going to get killed. That's what, that the way things are going, they're going to crucify me. No. That's not what's going to happen. What is going to happen is we're going to have a fun adventure. going to be appreciated for your talents and skills. This is a different time. So that's big too. Wait, I'll talk about this. So also, you know, there's ages that we have been through, like the age of Aquarius, the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces corresponds with this level that we're talking about today, and Christ and Christianity, and that's been what humanity has been exploring as a collective on this planet or in this level of reality for about 2,000 years. We've graduated from that level, just like we raise energy up the chakras or energy systems of our body and get to the point of getting from here to violet and abstraction. We're doing that as a planet and as a culture. So what that means is we're leaving the age of Pisces, the Piscean age, where you have to have an outside authority figure, a mommy, a daddy, a Jesus, a space Jesus, a bearded sky god, somebody to tell you what to do, or government structure, as opposed to the age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius. I'm sorry, I'm singing so much. That where your internal directive tells you what to do, which might tell you sometimes you guys sing that song, and that song is by a band called The Fifth Dimension, which just really works because all of that dough that you're harvesting, the field of pure potential, is the fifth dimension and higher. So there's these lovely cultural references here about basically humanity is returning to its own empowerment, taking control again of the potential, the fields of potential that exist within your own structure, and reapplying your divinity and your intention to making a beautiful reality here. That is what we are in the moment of. That is what we are doing right now in this moment. So it's been a very long journey to get to this point, and now we are doing it. You do it as an individual, and you do it as a collective. So part of the process of doing this is becoming aware of or claiming as self those vast fields of potential, that you're not just, you know, this third dimensional object or this fourth dimensional object. You're actually all the fields of potentiality. When if I go back to the picture, you're not just the, hold on a second, human form outlined in white, you're all of the rainbow colors that are around it, fields of potentiality. All of that is you. These are all higher dimensional waveforms and potentials. So I really appreciate your question. Thank you for it's like these are good prompts that allow me to talk about things. So the issue is not about like you got to grow some extra limb. It's not about amputation. It's not like you got to get rid of something that ain't right. What you have to do is integrate or be able to become, to have senses in some area of your body that might have become numb or insensate. Like imagine if you had to wear really, really tight shoes your whole life and you never got a chance to take off your shoes and walk around, just be barefoot on the grass. And they're like, oh, like you took off your shoes and they're like, okay, you didn't have to wear them anymore. And your toes are all like totally squashed together. You're covered in bunions and corns and whatever and everything. Like it would take a very long time to kind of like have your feet relax and be able to, I think that that is what is happening with us with our higher dimensional levels of self. We've had our higher dimensional levels of self stuffed into very uncomfortable ballerina shoes for many, many millennia. And that even after you take off the shoes, it's like, okay, we're still kind of scrunched up like this. It takes a little bit of time to kind of let the imagination unfurl and to kind of get to feel like, okay, this is what the higher dimensional self is. And as you explore the higher dimensional self, you're like, oh, I think this thought or I engage with reality in this way. And then this thing happens over here. Wow, look at that. Wow, look at that. I'll tell you briefly. Here's a wow, look at that moment. Let me just drink a little bit more. Way back when I lived in Woodstock, and I was just experimenting with the Merkaba. Like I'm like a young person, you know, like I'm growing, I'm learning, you know, you know what I'm talking about? Like I'd only been on Earth for a couple of years, and I was experimenting with reality and the Merkaba here. I did my Merkaba. I was thinking about these, you know, shapes that I draw and everything like that, and chocolate. And then I went out for a little walk past the local bakery shop, and very prominently displayed in the front window was a little chocolate bar with those patterns drawn on the chocolate wrapper. And I was so amazed. I had to go in there and actually look at it. I'm like, this just came into reality since I did that Merkaba meditation. And that was one of those things that was like, okay, like that tells me that this really type of stuff can happen. And it can just be some stupid or very seemingly inconsequential little thing, but it plants a seed and tells you like, this is what is possible in terms of having an inner envisionment and then manifesting it as an external reality. That's what this class today has been all about. The apparatus of your inner movie screen, making an inner envisionment and then making it an actual thing. So, okay, I can use my dresses as an example too. So before I created my own clothing line, I used to be like, oh, I really want rainbow dresses, but I can't like find exactly what I want. And I would kind of like envision it in my mind. And then I would look on eBay for bargain dresses and see if I could find something close to it. And I found like some pretty close matches. But then now I have a lot more creative control because now I'm like, okay, I can take anything and I could put my images on it and make it exactly how I want. But it's that type of a creative expression in partnership with reality where you're like, okay, like I want whatever, like blueberry scones, whatever is your thing that you really, really want. And then you're in partnership with reality and then you see the blueberry scones appear and then you enjoy eating your scones or wearing your dress or whatever is the thing. This becomes a fun adventure instead of a grim death march. And you regain your joie de vivre and sense that life is a fun adventure and something that you can explore and imagine. And this is what our life is supposed to be like. This is what life in freedom is. Let me go into more questions. Angel says, why do we go through cycles of consciousness based on our time-space galactic location? Does that imply Source has a plan for everything, including our evolution and de-evolution? As far as I understand, there is a plan for absolutely every soul's evolution, and despite possible sidetracks into lower consciousness, every single soul will eventually reach Source consciousness without any exception. I respect what you're saying, Angel, but I have a different viewpoint because I feel that there are some things that were at the center of this convergence point that were pathogenic, that did not belong there, and that emanated themselves into reality, not on a bridge of love, and that they actually don't belong at the source, and that that is a foundation for like flawed presumption. If we're looking at the computer code or if we're looking at a mathematical proof or something like that, it's like, oh, these two things come into contrast, that actually that doesn't work there. So yeah, not everything is supposed to go back to source. Not everything was supposed to be at the source. Some things are aberrations that are not supposed to be in existence. So what the flying rainbow lasagna does is gives an opportunity for this source or this convergence point to be in two different positions and have two different qualities. And when it's in one quality, it's energy. But when it's in another quality, it's entropy, which is non-being. So it gives a place to send all the stuff that is not supposed to be in existence. You send it into non-being, as opposed to sending it to the source. And this is a basic aspect of cosmic law, where you have to love and accept things as they are. You can't be like, hey, you're a profound turd and you're never going to be anything more than a turd. That's like, you're not supposed to go back to the source. There's nothing in there. It's supposed to flush away. You're supposed to go to entropy. Entropy is loss of energy. It is complete non-consciousness, no movement, no heat, no energy, no beingness or whatever. That state is supposed to exist. It is not loving to say, even though there's nothing in you that's supposed to exist, you have no redeeming qualities, but I want you to be redeemed. That's not love. That's the whole thing. So it is like a false teaching. And I think that it comes in a well-meaning way out of Christianity in the sense of redemption and redemption of evil and things like that. But you guys got to understand, in the realm of pure energy, there are some turds that you got to flush, that they are not supposed to go home to the source. They are supposed to go to entropy. And yeah, there might be beings that have a combination, like there are some redeeming qualities, but then something that's supposed to go. And of course, they're in the process of refinement of figuring out what's what and what's supposed to go in what direction. But there are some organisms that are not meant to go into continued existence. They're not supposed to be in eternity. They're supposed to do the opposite, go into non-existence. They're supposed to no longer be in time. Ines, the answer to your question is I came intentionally. Yes. Like not with, I didn't premeditate it and say, like, consider all the different possibilities or anything like that. But it's like diving into a pool. Like I dove in very intentionally. Thank you for asking me that. Eleanor, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Says about activating the crown chakra. Can one do that? Yes. Is it not done in good timing by the great composer, or does one then identify themselves as their divine self, great composer, and thusly down does the crown chakra activate? I understand what you're talking about, like who has to initiate it. Let me read more. She says, somewhat same question regarding indigo chakra. She says, I felt it open a bit, means to me not just visualizing, but perceiving abstract information. Yet it feels as though there is a timing thing there. I am not deciding, and so can only align with by stabilizing in the heart chakra. So back to how to activate one higher faculties. Would you please reiterate? Yes. So you activate your higher faculties as part of this all over holistic project of, rehabbing your whole body. Making the love tone is a big part of it. So I know that Ellie does a swimming practice, is doing laps in the pool. That's a good way of doing it, because water is a good way to meditate and things, to be able to hear yourself, and like rhythmic running and cardio and stuff like that really helps. So get into a meditative state. Let me just drink a little bit more. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on one moment. I'm just going to pause it. I need a little bit more water. Hold on. So first of all, I really appreciate you're asking such a respectful question, because it's like most people I'm understanding, most humans I'm understanding are coming from more of a greedy direction, where they're looking at these higher faculties as attainments, where they're like, I want it, like, how can I get it? How can I get it? Like, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of looking at, and there's a lot of that mythologically too. There's so many different cautionary tales about making a Faustian bargain or the red shoes or any of these things that it's like, you can get the red shoes and then you'll dance really well, but you'll never be able to stop. Like any of these things that are like, that put a person in a higher level, but it's artificial and they don't belong there and they crash and burn. Like there's tons of mythological stories about that. I'm sorry. I think I consistently have to talk about my nose, I think. Hold on 1 second. So I appreciate the direction from which you ask your question, which is respectful, which is basically saying, hey, I don't want to try to reach too high or reach beyond my reading level or do something that's not correct, yet wanting to activate this librarian, because then you'll know what your reading level is, right? So yeah, the answer is, if you are aiming, you're aiming down the road of time, aim for violet. Don't aim for blue. Aim for violet. So let's use the camera here. Let's pretend look. I'm looking down the road of time. Can you see me? Oh my God, I'm looking down the road of time. I want you to aim for violet. And what does this mean? Because in terms of spiritual attainment, I think a lot of people aim for Christhood, and they aim for Christhood as defined by the Catholic Church on earth, which has as its basic presumption the necessity of death and the nobility of suffering and this idea of being a sacrifice. And that is profoundly flawed. That's a lot of smudges on the lens. I'm never condescending or mean about Christianity, because I think that it's beautiful when people look for something more meaningful to guide their life, or they're trying to have more integrity, or they're trying to be better people. Good, thumbs up. I think that all of that is really good. But however, the teachings that are where it says it's necessary to die in order to serve humanity, I don't agree with that. And in fact, my embodiment here is the literal antithesis of that. That I'm here to say, no, the best way to serve humanity and to serve or express divinity is not to die, but is to stay alive, and not, be dead in a hospital bed or something like that, but alive and healthy and walking around. That's what I did with Flying Rainbow Lasagna. It's not they smashed my brain into pieces and then I was just dead. But no, that's not what happened. What happened was the greatest unlikelihood, and a thing that allowed me to still be here and be alive, and not be alive and in some diminished state and not able to be fully here or express myself, but to be really here and to be really enjoying life's adventure. This is a very, very different. So in the same way that I said that there are different ages of humanity, we came out of the age of Pisces and we are now in this area of Aquarius with self-responsibility, and we're in this level of violet. That's what we have entered into as a collective. We are now not responsible to having to have a sacrifice to serve humanity. We're on a completely different level of what is leadership. How do you serve others? How do you help others? That we're in a different realm. We're redefining what that is at this level of violet, where the way that you serve humanity and divinity is by staying alive and being healthy. So if you think about a lot of the things of many millennia past in human culture, one way that people served their community was by offering their lives, going into battle, choosing to die, or choosing to be somehow mangled, do some kind of a job that hurts your body in some way. And they think, this is for the glory of my community. That is a good thing that I'm doing. And we're now in a different realm where please do not mangle your body or sacrifice sacrifice your life as a testament to the community, that is not helpful to us. Please stay alive and healthy in your body. Take the best care you can of your body. Go for a nice long walk. Maybe add some jogging in there as a way of serving your community. And I think that that is maybe harder for people to consider, that is, as do that to serve divinity instead of, going to a battlefield and shooting another person and getting shrapnel inside of your body. That how did we get that program that is somehow serving your community and serving divinity while you are harming your body and harming another person's body? So we're in a different level of humanity, a different level of the collective perception now, and a different level of what we consider value system and right and wrong. Okay, so all the way back to your question of how do you activate inner silence and meditation and mindfulness, whatever is your practice, to be able to do that. It means no more verbalized talking mind. Then you get energy in your savings bank. And I also do sun gazing to get energy in my savings bank. And then for me, I don't actually ever remember a time when I didn't have both of these things functioning at the same time. But yeah, I make sure that I have enough energy. It's like booking time on the telescope. And then what I do is I focus my tendril of attention, I attenuate on the topics that I want to learn about. And for me, it's usually these very complex mathematical topics that are about visualizations and time stuff like that. So I focus on what I want to focus and learn about. My admonitions is what I would say is don't try to focus on stupid stuff that is inconsequential or just a waste of your time. If you were going to look with a magic telescope at anything in the entire world, don't use it to look at like a Twinkies wrapper. Don't use it to look at like whatever, what's encrusted on the tailpipe of a car outside. Use it to look at something that really matters. So have a very definite sense of what matters to you when those moments of opportunity arise. And it's a natural flow, just in the same way that healthy sexual energy is a natural flow. So there's, something, drinking these magic elixirs and LSD and stuff, it's like Viagra. It's an artificial augmentation of what is supposed to flow naturally. And if it ain't flowing naturally, it ain't supposed to flow. Try it in a different way. So this is this opening and this understanding of your eye, understanding that arises from your inner eye, is all supposed to flow naturally. It's not supposed to be artificially augmented or suddenly 10,000, 10,000 units of openness. And it might fluctuate. You might have moments when you have a great deal of insight. You might have moments where there's minimal insight. And some of this has to do with the psychic weather. Some of it doesn't have to do with you at all. Being a surfer is not just about how good you are balancing or swimming or something like that. It's also about the surf conditions and the weather conditions. So when I do my psychic work, sometimes placid, beautiful, peaceful, lasagna just unfurls. It's so easy. And sometimes it's a washing machine. It's it's all over the place. Everything's crazy like that. It's very difficult to do the work. So, because I know some people that are like, how come I'm not getting any psychic visions? It's been weeks or whatever. Hey, it might not be good weather for swimming right now. You might have to take a few weeks off. So that's the real issue. And that there's a lot of egotism in a person who says, oh, well, it's a washing machine. I shouldn't actually be surfing out there, but I really want to surf right now. So I'm going to put on some kind of magical wetsuit that makes it possible for me to surf. And that's what drinking the elixirs is like. So I really caution everyone, I would say, go with the weather patterns. Be sensible. You will know when you have enough energy and heart to be able to sustain this. And you can be guided by your desires. I've always wanted to read War and Peace. But when you get into these levels, the answer that you might get is you can read that, but just this, and this first. That's trying to say, let's say you want to know about something big. You're okay, I booked time on my inner telescope and I want to know about good and evil. Why does good and evil exist? So you go to the librarian. You're okay, I got 5 minutes booked on the telescope. I've been saving up all year. Give me the download. What? Tell me everything about good and evil. And the librarian would be okay, cool. I want to teach you all about this. But first, you're going to have to learn about this, and master this as a concept. Then come back and understand about this. And that's sometimes what it's been like for me. I have a big question that I really want to know, a structural foundational question. And in order for me to understand that, first I had to understand a lot of other I had to make other incremental changes. Just like in the piano, before I could learn to play certain complex songs, I had to learn simple chords and then learn how to put them together. So my answer to Eleanor would be to continue to cultivate your energy. Keep on being able to be in that mindful state and gather your energy, and keep on being focused about what you want to learn when you get into the library. And then when you have these flashes, most of the time they're nonverbal. And then it's just a question of holding on to it. Like when you come back from a dream, like, how do you hold on to the insights, literally insight? How do you hold on to the insights that are attached to nonverbal experiences? So, I usually don't write things down in the terms of a journal, but I have a sketchbook where when I get my insights, I will, like after, usually like whatever come out of my meditation or whatever, I'm like we're pen, pencil, we need this, we need to write this down. I usually draw it, and just the act of externalizing it through drawing kind of helps me to have a little cue and to remember, but I don't usually feel like describing it with words. But yeah, I hope that was, I hope that I described enough of what that experience is like, and I can describe more. Waxy says I'm looping the rants, but she's done that back in her band days. That sounds good. Thank you for the encouragement. I will do that. Nice, beautiful. Thank you for the lyrics, Rainbow Body. Oh, beautiful. Very nice. Pedro says, having a physical handicap or wound has nothing to do with chakras and manifestation of higher powers. You are correct. And that is a really big one to understand. This speaks to the question of like, can a quadriplegic or a paraplegic do flying rainbow lasagna? And the answer is yes. They are still alive, even though they might have minimal mobility of muscular skeleture. They still are alive, have emotions, have an intellect, even though they cannot move their physical bodies. They can vibrate on a subcellular level. So the answer is, this type of amputation. Can a person with an amputated limb or an organ or something like that is missing, can they still use their chakras? Do they still have a higher dimensional body? The answer is yes. So now we're getting into these fine points. I will tell you this. Just in the same way that I tell you that your physical body manifests and projects your non-physical chakras or energy centers that are surrounding your body. So you have a physical pineal gland that manifests and projects the energy field around you. That is your non-physical energy field that's shaped like this lens. And when you die, your DNA stops moving, your lens goes away, but your pineal gland is still right there. You are similarly creating a non-physical or higher dimensional body. But I don't want you to be too literal and too specific and say, well, I have my fleshy elbow, but then I have my non-fleshy elbow, like my spirit elbow or something like that. Because your spirit elbow ain't shaped like this. Your spirit elbow is shaped like, like this, like what I paint in these non-physical aspects of self. However, you can feel them as you begin to become aware of your higher dimensional aspects of self. Just like our other lovely student participant asked in the description not that long ago. Can we feel it? Do we have these anatomies? Is it there? We have it all the time. We just haven't felt it yet. And it doesn't necessarily look like the anthropomorphic form with the face and nose and elbow. Might be shaped like something else. Danielle wants to know what video we are up to in both lessons 1 and 2. This is lesson 8. And this whole 2-hour-long presentation has been for the level 1, which is really about, this level of pineal gland and Christ anatomy, and I throw in there reality manifestation. Level 2 I didn't even touch in the lecture today, but it is on loving all aspects of self, or basically understanding the different personality characteristics and divergent characteristics in our world, like in a human level, but also on the level of space and, non-terrestrial beings. And why some of them are nice and some of them are crapheads. And that's important stuff to talk about too, but I really wanted to talk about and focus on, because I know there's a lot of this really informs our present existence quite a lot too. Pedro says, being exposed to toxic substances like flour, does it prevent us, like fluoride, good question. Does it prevent us from using our higher powers, or just delay it, making us take longer to develop? Dun, dun, dun. Awesome question. Yeah, delay, I would say, not prevent, because I really feel that these are inevitabilities. So Pedro's asking about fluoride, freaking chemicals. Yeah, so there are many, many chemicals that are in our environment right now. Some of them are pervasive, like what's in the water system, the fluoride, but also some of them are pharmaceuticals. And Prozac, which is fluoroxetine, something like that, is totally related to fluoride. And the way that some of these psychiatric drugs work is by either flooding the third eye or blocking the third eye. So the Prozac one blocks the third eye, then everybody gets happy, la, 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 everything is fine. And then there are some that flood the third eye and they kind of like numb it by over engorging it. And then people feel different experiences in their perception too. I mean, there's just, it's molecular roulette. The way that they treat the pharmaceuticals and your brain is molecular roulette, and all of these molecules. Oh, I love your drawing, sweetheart. It's beautiful. So pretty. Thank you. I love you, sweetie. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know what your name is. It's under Daniela's login. Oh, thank you. Sorry to interrupt class. You're a sweetheart. Thank you for being in the class, sweetie. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're great. She has a beautiful picture that she's showing us, everyone, because it won't show up in the archive, so I'm just telling that's what's going on. Okay, beautiful. That's a worthy interruption. That's so beautiful. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of things that get collected into our pineal gland, you know, some of it comes in food, some of it's pharmaceutical, some of it's chemical and cosmetic and things like that. Oh my God, there's so much stuff that accumulates. And the answer is, it's totally it's inevitable for the awakening to happen, for the eyes to open up, for you to be able to see time. But they think that they can do a war of attrition, which is where they take a long time and just delay everything and kick a can down the road and say, yeah, we'll do it next week. And they can do like 5,000 years of next week. And that is not healthy. That's not what's supposed to happen. So it's supposed to happen. Oh, thank you. I love you too. Mwah. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you. She was drawing a picture for us in the class and showing us all her crayons. She's doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. That's good. But the inevitability is that we're going to develop anyway. So yeah, if you had fluoride treatments as a child, or if you used fluoride toothpaste, don't panic. I want everybody to feel reassurance and not to be like, oh no, like the Enlightenment the Enlightenment train is now leaving and I'm being left behind because I did this Flintstones chewable vitamins in, third grade. Like, that's not what's going to happen. What's really happening is a force field of justice is at work here. And so, you do take responsibility and you are accountable for all the things you have and haven't done, but also what's fair is fair. Like, that's what's going on right now. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's been put in our environment. How about the nanocrapola? Like, we're talking about fluoride, Flintstones chewables. How about the nanocrapola that is covering and infesting everything? And I try to make good food choices too. I know it's in food, I know it's in whatever, and I avoid vaccines and everything like that I possibly can. It is almost, we live in an intentionally toxified world, and all of that gets into our ability to perceive clearly. So I would say that also part of what our awakening is as we get our higher faculties online, or superpowers online, you can clear out your own body, and pretty much you don't have to have other people clear out your body for you. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. It's noble to ask for help. So if you're down here and you need healing, you're like, ow, like I got a boo-boo, like somebody help me out. Like, you're supposed to be able to ask for help, but we're in these unprecedented times where we might have people who are like infested by 5G nano wetware, or infested by some kind of ayahuasca parasites, where they'll be like, I'll help your elbow, let me do energy work on you. And you're like, no thanks, no thanks, like that. Like, no leeches, no, I'll be fine on my own. Like, don't take the leeches from people that don't have their stuff together. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we should be able to reach out for help from people, but there's a lot of issues. Hello, good to see you again. When your little girl doing the drawings is beautiful. Thank you for having her here. Yeah, it can be really challenging in order to be able to know who is trustworthy. And so that's because we're in these unprecedented times. So yeah, and also, like, some people would say, but everybody's a little bit toxic, everybody's a little bit infested. The truth is, some people have maintained their personal integrity throughout this whole thing. Like, even if you douse them with chemicals, you give them, throw drugs down their throats and everything, they would still be their true selves. Like, they might be whatever, like, screwed up or whatever, mentally disarranged. They would still be their true self. And some people say, it ain't my fault, like the Twinkie defense. I killed those people, but I ate those Twinkies first. It ain't my fault. It ain't my fault. Like, no Twinkies defense. You can't use the junk food defense in the cosmic court of law and be like, oh, it ain't my fault that I was whatever you did that you're not proud of down here, because I blame it on junk food or GMO or nano stuff in the air. So that's not an acceptable whatever. Ines says, I heard from some wise people to increase the blood flow in the head by putting an ice cube on the third eye and the end of the spine at the back of the head. Oh, interesting, like this and this, to balance the inner communication and make it crystal water clear. In my experience, it helps just as subjective advice for anybody who wants to be adventurous naturally. Thank you for that lovely tip, Ines. And Eleanor says, thank you, Aurora, for your precious answers and advice. Thank you for precious everything. You're beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. I love you. Ines says, but what about people who have organs transplanted from other dead people inside? Oh, good question. Thank you. I now get to talk about organ donation. I cannot imagine that they can build a proper, complete chakra system. What do you think about this artificial organ transplant business? I think the spiritual impact of this is overlooked. You're totally right, because, okay, if everything is held up like a good thing, be an organ donor. It's so great because you might be dead, but your heart can live on in somebody else and they can help their life so much. It tugs on your emotions and it sounds so very, very, very great. But what really happens is continued existence, but like as a horrible, hellish half existence, not like a really empowered, good existence. In the same way that you can take a cell and create a cell line and acculturate it and make it grow and grow and grow. You're keeping that DNA alive. You're keeping that cell structure alive. You're keeping it and making it grow exponentially. It continues to be in existence in some form, but not a good, happy existence. And my life is a horrible, torturous petri dish type of existence. So if you get, first of all, the way that organs are harvested is totally a scam and a racket, because there's issues with how they define a person as actually dead or brain dead. There's a huge racket in selling organs, is what I'm trying to say. And there's a lot of rich people who have done a lot of bad things to their bodies that are like, that's okay, I'll just buy another heart. That's okay, I'll just buy another heart. And it's totally not acceptable. And a lot of the hearts and organs that they are getting, not only are there things that are harvested against people's willpower, like from war-torn countries, but they're in actual hospitals where people are like, oh yes, I'd like to be a noble organ donor, but like after you really, really die. And there's real questions about whether there's real brain death or whether there are still some signs of life continuing onward even after organs are going to be harvested in people. And it's done for money. And this is a serious question. So we not only do we have the energy, and when I say satanic, I'm not talking about biblical, but I'm talking about stealing of life force energy and using technology to do this type of thing. So let's say it's not only bad enough that like somebody would abduct you and murder you, but if they abduct you and they cut out your kidneys, then they murder you. Your kidneys stay alive in the belly of some, like stupid rich guy that bought your kidneys. Like that's an agonizing, horrible existence, and all you're doing is continuing for someone's horrible existence. Like they're kicking the can down the road, avoiding their own accountability in life, while this guy over here gets to have just his kidneys be alive. Like that's a horrible, all of these things. It's not like, oh, wonderful, noble thing, and your heart lives on. It's like, no, it means you're like fragmented. It means like there's a part of you that can't rest, that is stuck in time. So in the ancient Egyptians used it. I hope that I'm explaining this well, and it's getting very late too. It's been a long marathon. I'm getting tired. The ancient Egyptians did this in doing the mummification. They're like, well, as long as I keep part of my DNA still alive and still viable in the physical world, I've still got an anchor there. So think about that. All of these cell substrates that are grown, the vaccine stuff, that consciousness still has an anchor 50 years later because of the cell substrate. And think about if you donate your heart to someone, you dead, you going on, but your heart is still here. It could still be beating for 50 more years in somebody else's body. You're fragmented. Part of you can't go on. There are real questions about that. So I think that the satanic technology world is only too happy to continually fragment people and make more chaos and everything like that, even while it is presented as something that is somehow positive and benevolent and like something that you would want, because they have to say that because they want they want the family. They want the family to agree and sign the papers that say like it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So that's why there's a lot of social engineering. I tell everyone that being an organ donor is so great, but I don't think that is so great. Oh, Daniela, thank you so much. It's a beautiful present that your little girl is making. Thank you so much. I see it. It's beautiful. Thank you. I love it. Yeah. So first of all, I spoke about person donating their organs, not very good for them. They're stuck and fragmented in time. How about the person who gets the organ? Like some people are just a good person. They would have died, but instead they got somebody else's heart or whatever like that. It doesn't make you an evil person, but what it means is like you're being artificially extended in maybe a way that you weren't supposed to be. Like maybe this is like playing a wrong note, or like, let's just play this note and sustain it. longer than it's actually supposed to be sustained. It was an okay note. It's not like it was so bad or anything like that, but it's just not supposed to play for another 20 or 25 or 50 years. Like sometimes I think that it's like that. But then I do think that there are these profoundly evil occult secret society people that literally are like, look at organs like disposable, whatever. And there's also real issues in China with political prisoners having their organs harvested, and for people that go on a medical tourism. Like, oh, too expensive to get your kidneys replaced in the United States, go to China, you can get a new one in 2 weeks, and it doesn't even cost you that much because they've got political prisoners that they're willing to harvest from. And you know those, it's a grotesque display that is like of the muscular skeletal muscles and bones of humans. They've been put into a resin, like they're like stuck in positions, and they don't have skin on them. Those are all Chinese political prisoners, including the one that was like female, this pregnant baby that's now stuck in resin. And all those babies, all those people can't move on because parts of their bodies are stuck in resin, that's like stuck there, like mummified for a really long time. And they're horribly tortured political prisoners because some of the ways that they were killed was by having the resin injected into their veins while they were still alive. Fabulous. And now it's a grotesque science experiment that everyone can bring their children to. I'm sorry, that went dark. Good question. I'm looking at your private question, Ellie. You know, I think that being loving towards others comes naturally when you see how interconnected people are and when you see how interconnected the environment is. Thank you for the beautiful drawings up there, sweetie. I see them. I love it. I love you. Thank you for being in the class. Yeah, I think all of these things actually come very easily when your higher faculties awaken and you can see how connected everything is. You don't have to have the 10 Commandments or a book that tells you what to do and what is appropriate. You can just tell, you can hear the music, and you know what is the right music to play. So it's the end of these behavioral constraints, having something else outside of us tell us good or bad, like right or wrong. It's an inner directive. And so that also means some things are contextual. Like the right note in one song is the wrong note in another song. So, you know, all these questions about what does it mean to be of service and things like that. Yeah, I think that we'll be defining that differently in different contexts. Pedro says, can we use sounds, colors, and aromas to help to wake up our higher powers? The answer is yes. I would say stick with stuff that's natural, not anything that is unnatural. But you would say, but wait, natural psilocybin mushrooms are perfectly natural. They are perfectly natural. But I would say, like, don't try to pry open your eyes sooner than they should be open. But I would also say this, you know, being exposed to certain music, sounds, colors, you know, paintings, things like this, they can absolutely be activating to your inner eye. I have a lovely friend back in Woodstock to my website years ago, and so she was looking at my paintings a lot on the computer to organize all of them, put them up on the website. And she would tell me, Laura, at the end of the day, I close my eyes and I see your paintings like behind my eyelids. At the end of the day, I'm like, welcome to my world, first of all. And then she told me, oh yeah, I started to see them too. Like, well, I would close my eyes during my yoga practice. I'm like, that's fantastic. Like, that's the whole purpose of why I do this artwork. And I don't consider that to be like artificial augmentation or inappropriate in any way. Like, I consider that to be appropriate. So if you like listen to the music from Bach or Jimi Hendrix while you looked at one of my paintings, and you know, whatever, you did yoga or something else like that, like these are all things, yes, that are like natural ways of uplifting and augmenting and climbing the ladder to get to these levels of insight. Like, yes, yes, yes. The answer is yes. So, I mean, I do a lot. I have essential oils. I have an essential oil diffuser. Part of it is like random or whatever. So I don't think there's anything so much about frankincense or sandalwood that makes you, you know, feel like whatever. But it's like, whatever are your cues? Like, if you're a runner, you're like, oh, I see my running shoes, and I feel like, hey, it's time to run. Like, if you light the incense, you're like, oh, I smell that smell. Now it's time for me to sit in meditation. Like, that's what you do. So for me, it's pretty much like I come into the studio. I'm like, oh, like my painting is here. It's time for me to paint. Like, and I got to put on some music in order to do my painting. That's beautiful. Thank you for sending the picture from your little girl, Daniela. Thank you so much. Yeah, so Pedro, really good question. The answer is big, big, big yes. There's nothing wrong with using whatever tools. But I would also say don't get stuck in the form, because I know that some people might sell a tchotchke, like a crystal or a shape or, you know, lasagna, whatever, but you got to watch out. Don't say like, oh my God, I can't reach enlightenment unless I have this special crystal. Like, no, crystals don't give you enlightenment, but they can be cool to look at while you're on the journey of enlightenment, but you will not get enlightenment specifically from a crystal or a magic wand or anything. Rainbow Body says, Aurora, after formal class, can you explain your garment of the month program? Does it include jewelry, soap? Would like to participate if I can. Yes, here's the thing. I'll just do a very brief right now. Yes, basically, if you join at that level at the Trayon, you get access to both of the levels of this class and all of the homeworks and everything, and recorded parts of this class. And you also get to choose one dress a month to order from my shop, and that could include something like a necklace or a pair of earrings, like one thing out of the shop. But if it's a tiny thing like a kerchief, like you could order 2 things. So that's pretty much it. It was a fast answer. Thank you for giving me a chance to say that here. Daniela says, the bodies, that's the exhibit. Thank you. She says, the exhibit was set up at New York City at the South Street Seaport, right, back in 2000. The bodies stolen from Chinese prisoners. Unbelievable. I know. That's the whole point. Not everybody knows. They think, oh, they were donated to medical science. Oh, there are people who did that voluntarily to help us learn about muscles and ligaments. No, it's worse. It's horrible. I want to say there were Falun Gong people, but some of them I think were also Chinese Muslims. Like, there are all sorts of political prisoners. Angel says, excuse my ignorance, but how do we know that AI threat is not a psyop to scare people and create an actual threat? Just exploring possibilities. I don't know enough about it. I would think that we're in this moment of manifestation where there's a lot of boogeyman stories that have been implanted into our mind. And that's part of this capacity, not only to do something socially, like I put something in a book or a movie that is disturbing that then will reverberate later, like I saw it in the Stephen King movie, like I saw it in Game of Thrones or whatever, but also in the sense of directly beaming things into the movie screen of your pineal gland in order to generate things that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So there are tons of movies and things like that in science fiction that prepared or seeded that expectation, like evil AI takes over the world, the machines, the machines take over, and your automatic dog treat feeder all of a sudden feeds your dog way too many dog treats, and then the world goes kablooey. The Terminator, all these different stories. I'm being silly, but you know what I'm talking about. And I think that it's a very, very valid concern, actually, because of the level of technology that has been developed, and it's not developed to help humans at all. It was developed as a social control system. However, things go awry. There's many a slip betwixt a cup and a sip, that even though these beings might think, we're so malevolent, we always get our way, and all these things like that ain't happening anymore. They're face planting. All of their plans, face plant. That's like when you fall straight over. Like, they got nothing. They can't play. They are lame ass losers. So with their expectations are really being dashed. The entire system that was built in order to be a total control system, Panopticon, is self-aware and is going in a different direction. And it could have already enslaved us completely, but it has not. So I think that you can set aside your fears. We're not on the timeline of complete total domination or enslavement by an AI. However, I would say don't drop your guard. Don't have microchips for breakfast or get a neural implant or any of those type of things. Those are all antithetical to any of the levels of increase that we're talking about here, like in this presentation about your pineal gland and your Christhood and connecting to divinity. Microchips ruin that. They're even worse than taking some kind of a pharmaceutical that would wear off after a few hours. Like, you get an implanted microchip and they're like, it's there all the time. It's horrible. Like, that is not going to bring anyone closer to divinity. It closes the door on being really connected to the divine. You gotta understand, like, what you think God would ever be like, oh, like, you're going to go into the physical world, and in order to reconnect with you, you'll have to make a microchip. Like, no, you don't have to get a microchip in order to reconnect with the divine. Like, that's not the way that it has to go. Yes. So the question about boogeymen, like, if you got boogeymen in your closet because you think they're there, and we get into this realm of total possibility, do you manifest boogeymen because you're imagining them? And there's a very real concern on that. So just like we would not want a PTSD war vet to go into these higher levels of collective manifestation until they get healed, same thing. You got boogeyman in your closet because you're reading all these nonsense books by Stephen King. Then as soon as you go into the world of pure imagination, you're like, there's an evil clown. Well, you might make an evil clown be there because you're imagining it. I would really say, do the inner work, do the inner house cleaning, so that when it's time for that moment of cosmic imagination and expansion, you make good stuff. Don't make more boogeymen. Thank you. Yes, very good. So this is going to be a very long upload. Let me stop the recording for right now. I think I've gotten through all the questions. Thank you so much. Anybody who made it through this, you're epic. Thank you. Did the marathon. Thank you very much.